Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2019 and 2020 Madison College Chef Demo Series, sponsored by Vollrath, our presenting sponsor. My name is Kyle Cherek, and to my right are Christine Cikowski. Well, how did I've said it 40,000 times. And
you did it very well.
Yeah.
You did it great.
Right until this moment.
Christine Cikowski and Joshua Kulp, who are the honey butter of Honey Butter Fried Chicken and the club of the Sunday Dinner Club.
I like the way that you said that.
Thank
we should
you.
change our names.
Yeah.
One of our cooks has started calling me Mr. Chicken when I walk in the room.
How many of you, just quick little show of hands, how many of you have been to their establishment? And it's okay, it's a Madison crowd, but I know there are some devotees.
Cool.
Yeah, right
Thank
there.
you,
Yeah, right on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, friends.
If you're not familiar, the style of restaurants that they have, pretty much they wear in their sleeve. One specializes in fried chicken and many other yummy things. And then the other one is a continual, weekly, rotating cavalcade of deliciousness of comfort food, and that is the Sunday Dinner Club. However, it does not actually serve on Sunday nights.
Generally not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to start this interview process with that because you're an enigma wrapped in a conundrum wrapped in a contrarianness.
We're very mysterious.
The way you've gone about your culinary careers makes zero sense and is business plan idiocy.
I totally agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. 15 years.
Any business students in the crowd tonight to help us out?
We need help.
15
awesome.
years, 2 restaurants, deeply beloved in Chicago, which is an incredibly competitive, difficult, and kind of mean town at times. Just going to say it, because we're here in Wisconsin, we're nicer. I mean, that's just,
My family's from Wisconsin, so I might agree with you a little bit on that.
Yeah. So tell the story of how it all came together and a little bit of your stories.
Sure.
And also, let's get one thing out right away. You are a culinary chef couple, meaning you're both owners, you're both chefs, you own the same restaurants, but you are not married, romantic couple, or any other kind of couple.
No.
Nor have you ever been. It's not like a Sonny and Cher kind of thing. Where, it was cool until the television contract went to hell, and now we're no longer getting... Yeah,
My wife is always surprised by the fact that I'm married to Christine.
Yeah. She's very understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not even like, and this is my work husband, this is my work wife. It's like, no, that's the chef that I own the restaurant.
We're our business partner.
Yeah.
We're pretty professional in that regard, and we obviously are friends and have a lot of shared interests and love of food, obviously being one of them. But we are a man and a woman who run a restaurant business together and aren't married. Who would have thought you could do that?
It's crazy, man.
Well, let's actually start there, because there's this inherent assumption within national media that's happened to you.
Sure.
And media, period, that obviously they're a man and a woman. Gender is everything. They must be a couple. Why could they be anything else? And how would that work? So,
well, I think it just doesn't happen that often because restaurants are tend to be family, especially the smaller independent ones, be family-owned businesses. So it's not surprising, I think, the assumption. I think what we would love to do is show that it's not the only option.
right.
Like you don't have to own a restaurant with your spouse, although it's great if you do, but you don't have to.
Or maybe not.
Or not. Or maybe
Well,
it's not.
I think,
I don't know.
We forget too. I do think it is, like she said, a lot. We do have a lot of friends that are husbands and wives that own restaurants together. But I think there is just this automatic knee-jerk assumption. We had one of our fry cooks who worked for us for several years. And my wife, I'm married. I've been married for 10 years and with my wife for 15 years, actually. And we just had a baby. Thank you. Yay.
Yeah.
But he used to see me with my wife, and I think he thought that was like my girlfriend. And then he was like, does Christine know?
No, he asked one of our chefs, he asked our chef Cam, why do Josh and Christine never go on vacation together?
Yeah.
And our chef Cam was like, they're not married. And he's like,
So.
oh, I just thought, and he's like, you met Rachel. And he's like, well, I don't know. And it's like, Josh is
He had worked for
apparently
you
quite the ladies' man.
for how many years?
Yeah.
Several.
Yeah.
Several years, yeah.
Right.
So,
yeah.
but Christina and I met in culinary school at Kendall College in Chicago. We were both career changers, so I used to be a 5th grade teacher in the Bronx in New York. I went to school at the University of Wisconsin, Madison.
Heard of it.
I am from Chicago, though, so don't get too excited.
That's okay.
But I loved going to school here.
We love your tuition.
Thank you.
Revenue. Yeah.
I worked at a bunch of restaurants while I lived here in school. I worked at Tutto Pasta literally 25 years ago.
And Magnus.
Restaurant Magnus was that was probably about 16 years ago. I worked there. I briefly cooked as an assistant to the executive chef at the governor's mansion for Jim Doyle. Thank you. And I was also, I don't know if you guys remember, there was a coffee shop on State Street for a few years called Cafe Assisi. Yes. When I was in college, I was one of the collective owners of that and developed their food menu there. So I love Madison, but when I was in school, I studied English and poli-sci, wanted to kind of save the world. Decided to be a teacher.
No one ever had that instinct when they came to Madison.
Yeah,
you were a complete anomaly.
I thought it was going to be easier to save the world, but it turned out to be hard.
Yeah.
I moved to New York, taught 5th grade in South Bronx for a few years. In the very early 2000s, 9/11 happened, and I think a lot of things sort of come into perspective. And I think teaching I loved, but it was not my calling, and I found myself wandering around New York, eating, and then shopping and coming home and cooking, trying to get through grading papers so I could just cook. And kind of suddenly dawned on me, I love food. I've been doing this when I was in school. Maybe I can make a career out of this. Left teaching and decided to pursue it full time. Yeah. Actually came back to Madison briefly, cooked a little while, and then ended up going to Kendall in Chicago just because it was sort of they had a great 1-year program for career changers. And then met Christine there. Yeah. And we started doing our dinner club. But you want to tell them how you got there?
Yes, I do.
She took the L.
I took the L. So I have some Wisconsin roots too.
Nice.
My mother's.
You both don't have to. It's okay. It's not that
No,
hostile
I'm proud of
I'm
it.
very excited
I'm proud
to be
of
here.
it.
It's awesome. I love it here.
Because you mentioned yours, so I'll mention mine.
Yeah.
Because that's cool. My great grandparents immigrated here from Czechoslovakia and bought land in Moston, which is still owned by my family. It's 300 acres. They lease it to another farmer now, but the farmhouse is still there. And I grew up coming up here every summer to work on the farmhouse. And I went to Castle Rock Lake.
Yeah.
And I love Wisconsin. So I'm like 25% Wisconsin.
Thanks.
Yeah. It was a dairy farm, by the way, so lots of cheese. It's in my blood. Anyway, so I kind of came to culinary world a little differently. I was a music major in college and wanted to be a singer in a band. That obviously did not happen. I still sing in the shower. But I went to music school and got a music business degree, actually. So obviously I'm a chef now. And it just, very similar to Josh, I really loved music and I was super passionate about it, but it wasn't really my calling as far as my work. And I had just worked in restaurants since I was 16. I was 10, 15-year veteran of front of house. So I had been a server, a bartender, a host, pretty much every position that you can have. And
what was your first restaurant experience?
I worked in the cafe at Borders Bookstore. You guys remember bookstores?
Love that.
That's a thing.
I love that.
There's bookstores that have coffee shops in them. Yeah. I was a barista. But I really loved cooking. I grew up cooking. My mother and father, they're divorced, but they both loved baking and cooking, and so that just sort of was in my DNA, I think. But it never occurred to me, and I think Josh too, that why wouldn't I be a chef? I think things are different now. We have these amazing culinary schools that are sprinkled across the nation, and there's food channels and food magazines, and that was just sort of starting when we were in culinary school. But
nascent.
Yes, nascent. Yeah. So I just was working in restaurants and always wanted to get out of them. I was I don't want to be in the restaurant industry. I'm just doing this until I get to my job.
Right.
So I left the restaurant business and took a job selling wine. It's natural progression. Which really isn't really getting out of the restaurant business. It's just keeping your toe in. And
it's like a sidecar, really.
It's
I don't ride motorcycles anymore.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just in the sidecar.
I'm in the sidecar.
Yeah.
So I'm in the sidecar, in the wine sidecar, and my company got bought out by another company, and I didn't really have an option to stay in a position that I wanted to stay, and so I was kind of forced my hand, and I was like, it was like so obvious, like right in front of my face, like for my whole life, like maybe you should be a chef.
Yeah.
So I love cooking and I love serving other people and working in hospitality for many years. So it was that sort of kick in the butt that got me to go to culinary school, and then I met Josh.
Yeah, and you were the, I say this affectionately, but like the aging out students.
Yeah.
At college, right? Yeah, you're like the
Called
grown-ups.
that what is it called? Like not back to school. What was
It was like
Career changers. Career
accelerated.
changer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Career changers. Which
yeah.
what also made us super serious about, we were like, it was very intentional,
Yeah.
our
Right.
choice to like leave our careers and go.
We were spending our own money on culinary school, not our parents' money.
Still,
Made it a little different.
Still paying it.
Yeah. Yeah, but we met there, and I think both were similarly interested in farmers markets and local ingredients, and had read an article about underground restaurants that were happening in New York, and there was one in Portland. And we were graduating school, and obviously we took jobs in the industry.
So this is like 2004.
I think it was 2004.
Yeah,
2004 or
right.
5.
Which it was just starting to
Yeah.
mean like they were hot in New York,
Yes.
London, maybe
Portland.
There was one in Portland.
Yeah, exactly.
Portland Family Supper.
San Francisco did
Yeah.
them occasionally,
Yeah.
and then the cops would show up and say, "Oh, can we
Exactly.
sit down and have dinner?" Because it was San Francisco.
Yeah.
Right.
So we invited. Well, so we did it on a Sunday, and that's why we called it Sunday Dinner Club. The first one, we invited like 8 people, mostly our parents. You can do the math on that, and I won't make a divorce joke. We had a table full of our family and a couple friends. Cooked them a 5-course meal of stuff that was inspired by the farmers markets and just things that we were interested in. We had taken jobs in the industry, but when you start working as a cook, you learn a lot of amazing things, but creativity is not something that you really get to do for many, many years. And
Right. It's just
I think,
execute. Yeah.
And we, which is very important, but I think being a little bit older, and we just really had an itch to kind of create too. So we, on Sundays, would cook these meals, surprise people at the end by asking them to pay us, even though they were at our house.
It was a donation.
Yeah, we would pass a pot around, like a pot, like a cast iron pot, and have people throw money in it. One of our parents would never pay, we realized later, because it was always like but,
Did they leave an IOU?
there was always one person short. I don't know if like somebody's mother like.
That's another interview.
Yeah. But so we did that. The people who came to that dinner told their friends about it. We did another one. We started to just collect emails on a piece of paper, and started to collect emails. And before we knew it, we had probably 1,000 people after.
Right.
And then we would do them regularly, and then we always did other things to kind of support Sunday Dinner Club. Actually, I should say that eventually we left our restaurant jobs and just decided to try to make a go of this. We did get legitimate pretty quick. We realized we should probably pay taxes, because that seemed like the most important
Yeah, the
thing.
rogue side of the underground
Yeah.
restaurant scene wasn't really appealing to us. We were actually wanted to be legit. Like the reason why we did it in our homes wasn't to be like rogue,
We're
like
so cool
underground.
and-
We just
Yeah.
we did it in our homes because we thought like that's the best place to eat food with people.
And it was really hard because there is no ability to cook a dinner like that in your own home in Chicago, and I think in most municipalities. No matter how trained you are, how sanitary you are, how private it is. So we figured out how to get like a shared commercial kitchen that we could prep the stuff in, and then when we would go to our home or someone else's home, we would be kind of doing catering.
Right.
I mean, it's a gray area, obviously, but we would pay taxes, we got licensed, we did the whole thing. And we would start doing more traditional catering, but the whole time we were trying to kind of protect Sunday Dinner Club so we could do it as often as we could. And that was sort of we named it Sunday Dinner Club, but eventually started doing them on other days because we ran out of Sundays.
Now
Right,
we don't do it at all on Sunday.
What's your story? Like you tell somebody, we're doing 9 Sunday dinner clubs in October,
Yeah.
and they'd be like,
you watch them do the math. They're like, oh, we have this thing. It's called Sunday Dinner Club, and they're like, how many times do you do it? And we're like, about 10. And they're like, 1, 2. How does that work? And we're like,
Yeah, we usually do
not
them.
instilling a lot of confidence, actually. Like, there's
it
only
makes
4
sense
Sundays.
though. We kind of understand why people would think that, and then we
Yeah.
have to say it's the feeling, the
Right.
ethos
Yeah.
of a Sunday dinner, of
Yeah.
a family dinner
Yeah.
together.
So go on, John.
So yeah, so
Sorry.
now we do them generally now Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We probably have over 8,000 people on our list. It's never been open to the public. It's always been this kind of thing that if you know someone who's on the list, you can get added, or if you meet one of us, we're happy to. We're not trying to be exclusive.
You're all invited.
We met at a very public event. What was it called?
Chef's Night Out.
Chef's Night Out, in Chicago.
Oh, no, Taste of the Nation.
Taste of the Nation. Taste of the
We
Nation.
also saw you at Chef's Night Out.
At Chef's Night Out, that's right. That was the James Beard thing, some years later. Taste of the Nation at the very end of Sucker Central, otherwise known as Navy Pier. At the very end of the rotunda, and it was full of the firmament of Chicago chefs. Bayless, Montuano, Achatz, everybody was there. And these folks were there too. And they were excited because I had just started working on Wisconsin Foodie, and I was excited because they'd actually seen it. And we connected right away, and there was some talk to Wisconsin and things like that, but I don't even know if you handed me a card, but it was so quiet and subversive and non-marketing. It's and then we did this initially I didn't know anything about you, so where's your restaurant? Oh, we don't really have it. Explain, blah, blah, blah. Moves from people's kitchens. Are you in trouble with the law? No, this is how we do, but there was no hard pitch. She was like, well, I'd love to be on your email. Like, okay.
Cool.
Yeah, that
was, and
I still my jaded, overexposed culinary heart still gets a little flutter every time I get the Sunday dinner club email come up. Kyle. In my folder.
Well, that's awesome, and it's been an amazing experience for us to do Sunday Dinner Club, and as chefs, we change the menu generally every month, sometimes twice a month, and we cook whatever we want, whatever we're kind of interested in, what we're curious about. We always generally do a 5-course meal. This month we were doing kind of it's like Eastern European Jewish food, like the food of my grandmother, basically.
Yeah. Now we're doing Thai-ish
we're doing Thai
food.
We do everything from fancy French food to pizza nights. Pizza is really my true love in the world, but I own a fried chicken restaurant.
And then your wife, and then your child.
Yes, thank you for reminding me.
That's a good. Paul Bertolotta told me once. He said, "I've never met a slice of pizza that I didn't like."
I know.
And I said, "Even skanky airport." He's like, "Yeah, even then."
I think that Josh's true love is his wife, but his soulmate is pizza.
Yeah.
I think that.
Sure.
But we do pizza dinners at Sunday Dinner Club. But one of the menus we did regularly was fried chicken dinner. So at first it was just, Christine and I don't really have a strong fried chicken background. When I was a kid, I would cry if my dad wanted fried chicken because I wanted a cheeseburger. And so it's funny now that I own a fried chicken restaurant. I was also a real crazy leftist in college. I might still be a crazy leftist, but my dad always points out to me how funny it is. I think we have a bunch of businesses, so
you're more capitalist than ever.
I'm the president of 5 corporations now, and he always likes to remind me of that. But we'll talk about our business practices in a minute. Yeah. But we started doing fried chicken dinners. Christine and I approached fried chicken as chefs. We kind of studied the history of it, and we really always, whenever we do anything, we try to look at how it's been done before, try to really understand it, try to find ingredients from our region, and then try to execute in a way that is respectful of the tradition, but also kind of fresh in our way of doing it.
Yeah, neither one of us had a nostalgia attachment to fried chicken, which it is a very nostalgia triggering food for a lot of people, and which we obviously respect. But not having that was a little freeing for us because we could just approach it from any sort of standpoint.
Do you want to tell them how the butter got in the bird?
It was a total accident.
Yeah.
People are like, how did you come up with that? Honey butter fried chicken. It's the greatest thing we've ever created, and just by accident. So we did these fried chicken dinners at Sunday Dinner Club for many years, and one year, it was 2009, I figured it out.
Cool.
We served a side dish with the fried chicken, so people get a plate, 2 pieces of fried chicken, and 2 side dishes, seasonal. And then one of them was a Johnny cake. Y'all know what that is? Corn cake. Griddle cake with honey butter on it. So you see where I'm maybe going with this?
Delicious.
So we plate this beautiful plate up, serve it to our guests in the dining room, come back to the kitchen, and then the
Give
savages.
me a nice cold Coca-Cola, and I'm like, I'll go to the chair. I'm
That's
good.
right.
I'm done.
A glass of champagne is good with it.
Yeah.
So being the savages that we are in the kitchen, chefs eat it different than you guys. Well, maybe not. We like to just we'll just put it on a plate all together and eat it over a garbage can really quickly in the corner. Don't talk to me right now.
Fred Flintstone style.
Yeah, very much. It's very
Cookie Monster.
what's the word I'm looking for?
Carnal?
carnal.
Is that the right-
It's just very intense.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we had plated up like some of the scraps for us to eat while our diners were eating, and little tiny plate, and the honey butter just was on the corn cake and melted on the chicken, like just on accident. And we ate it anyway.
We were like passing.
We're
this
passing it
drumstick
down,
around
and
the
we're
room.
like,
Right.
what is? I mean, like
Right.
a lot of swearing was happening, a lot of passion, and I.
But like positive swearing, like affirmation
Oh
swearing.
yes, like passion
Sure,
swearing, right?
sure.
I'm not going to do it here,
Sure.
but passionate.
Yeah.
And I remember as we were sitting on my back porch, and I remember I can still see it. I put my plate down, and I ran into the dining room because our diners were like almost done, and I was like, take the butter off the corn cake, put it on the chicken, like aggressively. And they all did. And then there was like swooning, and I'm not exaggerating that. And then the next night we're like, well, maybe we should put the butter on the chicken instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then our lives changed. So
Yeah.
in that
So
little
where
moment.
did you?
Total accident.
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to circle back to like 4 things that you two spoke to. But when did you say, okay, that was a seminal moment of foodgasm? Let's make a business which will, kills all gasm, any kind of gasm, and like let's turn this into something that is a freestanding deal. And then, you were hammered. I mean, hammered by your Sunday Dinner Club email list came in droves.
Yeah.
And it was like...
It was bonkers.
It was bonkers,
no
and I know
idea.
you both looked at each other like this was the best idea we've
crazy.
ever
I
had.
remember standing at the pass on our opening night, and Josh and I at that point both worked in the restaurant in service
you
every
two
day,
did
all
everything.
day.
We thought we would butcher all the chickens.
Oh yeah, we were
and,
like, we're gonna
Yeah.
have 100 customers a day.
Yeah.
But I
Maximum.
remember
That would be a
standing,
good
and
day.
I was at the Expediter. Josh stayed in the front of house, I stayed in the back of house, and I remember like there was a line, maybe 60 people on opening night, and I remember looking at you in the face, and I was like, "What did we do?" And he's just like, "I don't know."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we were just like, it was that moment where like everything slowed down, and we're like, "What did we just create?" But anyway,
Yeah,
what
I
were you
think
gonna say?
we were always trying to figure out a way to take Sunday Dinner Club and turn it into a restaurant, but we kind of couldn't figure out how to do that without totally killing it. So I mean, it still exists.
Killing the soul of it, really.
Yeah, we have an event space. Sunday Dinner Club still is, it's 1 seating a night, it's 24 people. One of us is always there, and it doesn't mean that we won't ever turn it into something
Which is why I have
more.
to interrupt you. That's what
Yeah.
makes it so special, is that if
Yeah.
it were 28 people or 30 or 60,
No, yeah.
it would, all the life would be,
would
and
be
I'm
different.
so glad that I mean, I've known so many restaurateurs, and I'm sure we all have the story where it was that lovely place that we went to, and,
Yeah.
maximum capacity was 54, and you brought all your friends, and then when they got another location and they moved to capacity of 158, and
Yeah,
like
things
you're
change.
like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, and I think that being said, Sunday Dinner Club has evolved in some ways, but we always want to make sure we're protecting its soul. So
Yeah.
we couldn't quite figure out how to, and we also were starting to get a little bit like realizing that we needed to actually make money someday in our lives. And I mean, it's a beautiful thing to do 24 people a night, but it is not a real way to make a living.
Right.
So I think I was always looking for concepts that the cool thing about Sunday Dinner Club is we've cooked hundreds of different menus. So we have kind of like hundreds of different concepts like in our pockets.
Yeah.
But this one kind of felt like, wow, that is really delicious. No one's doing that. And I think obviously once we came up with the name, it just sort of sounds good.
Yeah.
And so we decided to go for it on that one.
I
And-
resisted it for a
Yeah,
really long.
Christine
You're
really-
being kind.
Interesting.
Josh really wanted to do the restaurant.
Yeah.
He really wanted to open a restaurant. I was very hesitant to do it because we had this beautiful thing where we were serving beautiful food to amazing people in an awesome environment that it like wasn't a restaurant.
It was your culinary student pivot dream,
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
you were
That's awesome.
living the dream.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
resisted it for a really long time, and then I think it was mostly just like coming up with the right thing, and honey butter fried chicken just felt right at that time.
Yeah,
So
and
that we
figuring out
did
how to
it.
be able to, so we still are able to do both.
Right.
Yeah.
We now have a full-time sous chef at Sunday Dinner Club who really handles most of the prep, because it turns out all the things you dream about in culinary school, HR and accounting and all the business things. I mean, we are really, at this point,
Operations.
marketing.
Yeah.
We're business people at this point. I mean, obviously, we do think about food and we live and breathe food, and we're committed to creating beautiful, delicious, craveable things, but we have to run a business. We have almost 60 employees, and they have needs, and we're deeply committed to making sure that we're a great place to work. So
yeah. And we'll get back to that because some of the things that you do are amazing. So I look at culinary history because that's really what I am, and then I happen to host this TV show and do other stuff. But culinary history is my jam. And when I look at American culinary history in the last, let's say, 20 years, there's catchphrases. So there's chef-driven, right? There's farm to table. There's subversive or unexpected or avant or something like that. And you two hit on all of those in the most unsexy but earnest ways ever.
Great.
I mean, it's
unsexy.
I
love it.
Sunday Dinner Club is so chef-driven because, as you said or you said before, it's what we want to cook.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not like you don't hire an agency that's doing surveys of what are people interested in. There's no, this
Usually
profile.
It's a cheeseburger. Or
Yeah,
something
right.
like that.
Yeah.
It's really what we want to eat.
Yeah, it's what you want to eat. Right, exactly.
Right.
You've always been on sacrificing about the ingredients that you bring in and paying for them and getting those sources. You're doing slow food, essentially, incredibly thoughtful. I mean, right back to Carlo Petrini's, definition of slow food, where that came from in Italy. Yet the whole thing is subversive and avant because you're not doing it in this classic restaurant kind of style. We're like, okay, we need to be on this corner, and we're going to have this kind of press, and we're going to do this kind of thing, and Rydell, stemware and blah, blah, blah. You're like, well, I don't know, we should get some napkins.
Yeah.
And,
We do have napkins.
No, but
But no, we don't have.
IKEA is an amazing place.
right, yeah, exactly. And so all of that is part of the reason why I wanted you to, and I'm so grateful that you said yes to kicking off this series, because aside from you folks, general public, there's a lot of students here that are thinking, how do I move forward with my career? And you've done it in the most uncustomary way, yet it's been authentic every step of the way, right down to your partnership, right? The media gets it wrong every time because they can't wrap their head around it.
Yeah.
But yet you're successful, and Chicago adores you.
Thank you.
What's true. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's really nice to hear. Thank you.
So, with that said, how do you take care of your people in, I think, the most dynamic food city that we have right now? You can kind of go like LA, ethnic thing, and then Chicago, what's happening from Grant all the way on down.
Yeah.
Incredibly competitive, quite expensive. And it's a place that people go like they used to go to Lyon, or like they used to go to Tokyo, or like they still sort of go to Copenhagen to learn how to cook this thing and spend time. They come to Chicago, right, to sponge up those skills and then move on. So how do you keep people? And how do you reward them for being loyal to you?
We're still figuring that out.
Well, yeah.
Well, no, we have it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Because the industry and the way that we do business in our industry is shifting right now, which is really exciting. But we've always been super committed to being a workplace that takes care of its employees, and not just in a pay way, but just in benefits, obviously, which is not a thing. I don't know if y'all are in the culinary industry or restaurant industry, but it's not common to have paid time off and health insurance paid for, or paid parental leave, which is something that we added, and profit sharing and having all this stuff. But we also have a pretty progressive, nurturing, supportive work environment. So we're not those we don't yell at people. We don't. We had been in environments.
You yell at each other
that.
from time to time.
Not maybe
trying
when we
not
were
to.
younger
Yeah.
and more stupid, but no, we don't actually. We might. I think we argue, but we definitely. I'm not going to say we never have any problems at Honey Butter or Sunday Dinner Club, but we have a way of a sort of culture and philosophy of dealing with that. It's being direct and respectful, and you can still discipline somebody and be nice to them when you do it. And so we just have this sort of culture that is more, I think, respectful is the way that we look at it.
We want people to feel joy when they're at working for us. I mean, I worked in a lot of jobs where none of the ones I mentioned earlier, by the way, where I would kind of wake up in the morning and wonder if there was like 2 feet of snow and maybe everything was shut down because I didn't want to go, you know? And we always tell our employees, like, if you start to have that feeling, you've got to do something.
Right.
We'll help you. Maybe you can do something else within the restaurant. Maybe we can help you find another place to work. But we don't want people coming to work every day that are miserable. It's not why we started these businesses. And I think we're a little bit on a mission to show that you can make money, you can be a very profitable business, but you can also really take care of the people who are working for you. And it's not something we do for charity. It's something we do because we think it improves our business. We think that people who come to Honey Butter love coming there, and I think part of the reason why they love coming there is because our staff is engaged and loves being there too, and that shows. And surprise, surprise, if you treat people well, they tend to perform well. And
stay, which is key.
I mean, we do have turnover at a restaurant. We have plenty of people that decided that they want to move on or leave, but not usually because they hate Honey Butter.
Has anyone left to say, I'm going to go work at KFC?
No.
Okay.
Oh, God.
No. I mean, number one reason why I think is like they just want a different career. Like we have a lot of younger people working for us that are like in college and they graduate and they're like, I'm going to go be a teacher now. And we're like, great.
Sure. Yeah.
Or they want to try a different cuisine. Like we had a cook that left that loved working for us, but he's like, I want to try cooking fish.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, we can't do that here. So let's figure out how to get you in a place where you can do that.
Yeah.
And so we really do try to...
Chicken is literally the last word.
But we
That's right.
we also have a lot of adults too. We have a lot of moms. We have a lot of parents because we are flexible with their schedules. As Christine mentioned, we have paid parental leave for fathers and mothers. And that's everybody from dishwasher on up can take time off. So we really try to be a good place for people to spend their career. Our health insurance is available to people's dependents, to their spouses and children, and that's not almost unheard of in the restaurant business. So I know that, and other things, little things, like we a few years ago eliminated tipping at Honey Butter Fried Chicken. Most restaurants, believe it or not, don't really pay their front of the house workers. They pay them a sub minimum wage, and then you make it up. You, the consumer, make it up by tipping. And I know that you all, I'm sure every one of you tips based on the merit of the service, but we did a lot of research on this, and as a whole, people tend to tip based on bad things. How someone looks, the color of their skin,
Gender.
their gender, the color of their hair,
Sexuality,
their thinness, and we didn't want our staff subjected to that their paycheck being dependent upon having to, being in that sort of circumstance. And
well, it also happens in reverse. I used to be a tipped worker, and I worked in bars and stuff like that. And you definitely, whether you know it or not, can look at people and be like, those people aren't going to give me a good tip. Those people are going to give me a good tip. And you may give them more service. You may give them free food just to get that. It's just not a good way of doing business. It doesn't support the business or the workers.
It's very medieval, is what it is.
It's weird. And if you do the history on it, it really is sort of born in this country. It sort of arrived here. Post-slavery. It was a way for white employers to avoid actually directly paying their black workers. And I think it's not something that we want to perpetuate. And so we pay our staff a full wage. And what that means is that suddenly we actually have to value our product appropriately. Like, I know that it feels expensive to go out for dinner, but realize that those employers aren't paying half their staff fully. You're paying that tip. At Honey Butter, whatever our price is, you're not adding the tip on top of it. Hospitality is included, and we pride ourselves in having amazing service. When we eliminated tips, our staff was on board with it, and we said, when our customers come, they can't say, remember when the service used to be good, when they used to have tips? No, it has to be
same
better.
level. Danny Meyer fought this battle famously, and he was saying, he said, I'm doing it selfishly because I need great people in the back of the house.
Totally.
And I need to pay them a living wage because New York is very competitive. There's a lot of other great restaurants, and they're crucial to my business. So take all of the other, slavery background and things like that. He said, just call me a self-serving capitalist.
Yeah, totally.
I want a really great line cook, prep cook, dishwasher, whatever.
Yeah.
And so this is the model that works for me. If anybody comes up with a better one, I will sit down and listen to you and probably implement it. But this is the best idea that we have.
Yeah, we support it.
Yeah. So your restaurants traffic in nostalgia, in deep flavor memories, and in something that tastes of home. I can't think of a more dangerous concept because the lasagna that you make is not my mom's famous lasagna.
Right.
The fried chicken, like you said, American culinary history, Calvin Trillo made a career out of writing about fried chicken.
Totally.
2 books,
Yeah.
right? In the 80s. This how deep it goes.
Totally.
And so, has that ever backfired on you? A little risky?
I mean, knock on wood, at this point, I think it hasn't. I think we never made a claim that this was anybody's grandma's fried chicken.
Right.
It's our recipe. And the secret truth is, people always want to say, this is the best, or, I have the best fried chicken place. Thank God there's, a lot of good fried chicken in this world. There's room.
Yeah.
There's room for our fried chicken along with all the other wonderful fried chickens. So,
Right.
I don't think it's really backfired on us at this point.
No.
We do a couple things differently. We take the bones out of our breasts and thighs. We buy whole birds, and we use every bit of it. We use
Everything but the squawk, right?
everything but the squawk.
Yeah. The squawk.
We use we render the fat out of the skin and the backbone and make schmaltz that gets whipped into our mashed potatoes. We roast the bones and make stock that becomes our gravy. But we brine our chicken. We like the way that the breast and the thigh ate without the bone. And it's funny when we open, some of the food critics in Chicago couldn't get past that. That there was no bone.
You can't take the bones on a fried chicken. Yes, you can.
Well, it's what you were describing.
It's delicious to eat a whole
Older
piece of fried
generations
chicken.
would just say, well, that's just called cooking. I'm not trying to belittle your techniques,
Yeah.
but that's no, that's just called cooking.
Just called
Yeah.
cooking.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
if you really want the bone of the chicken, the drumstick has it still
Right.
at our restaurant. And we did a lot of testing. And I'm a big fan of slow cooking. And when we do a whole roasted bird at Sunday Dinner Club, or we do other meats up there that are long, slow cooks, we definitely leave the bone in for flavor and juiciness. But fried chicken's actually, it's not fast, but it's not 30, 40 minutes. And we fry a piece of chicken in 12 minutes, and the bone actually just doesn't do much for us if you're brining it and using a great bird to start.
Right.
So we liked how it ate, and it's worked out for us, but that might be one of the few things that backfired at first, just the critics kind of. But one guy, his headline was, "The lines are long at Honey Butter Fried Chicken, and life's too short." That was one of the first reviews. And now we still have a line out
My
the door.
point, it's kind of a mean town at times.
Yeah, I don't want to sound bad, but we still have a line out the door, and it's 6 years later, and I see this food critic sometimes, and I always line's still long. If you want to
Hey, you're still here, we're still here. Life's even shorter, ostensibly, and you could maybe,
We're doing okay.
Yeah.
we're doing fine.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
What are your challenges moving forward? Because you've pivoted from, kind of kids cooking in other people's kitchens and, different event spaces to legit business owners with 2 essentially restaurants, an event space and then a legit restaurant, paying taxes, paying insurance, all that. 15 years. It's one of those my wife and I call them talking heads moments. How did I get here?
I know.
Yeah.
This is not my beautiful house.
Do you ever see those diagrams where it's one person's life it's a pinpoint, and then it's a straight arrow, and then the other person's goes like this?
Yeah,
That's
right.
ours.
Yeah.
It goes like that.
Yeah. What's next? I think we always are trying to figure out how to keep Sunday Dinner Club alive in a way that feels good for us. So we have some thoughts on that. But Honey Butter really, it seems primed to grow. We've been doing it Honey Butter's been open for 6 years. I think we're trying to figure out the right way to do it that still maintains all of our values. We've been very fortunate. We have a lot of opportunities, thankfully. But kind of picking the right one and working with the right people. We're very protective of, our freedom. We really, part of the reason when we started these businesses is to be able to kind of have control over our day-to-day lives and decide what we're going to do next. And whatever we do, we want to make sure that we're being respectful of our ingredients and our team and giving opportunity to our staff to grow. Because at some point you just run out of We have lots of managers because we have people that have been with us for a long time, and we just make them a manager because, and get,
Sure, sword on both shoulders and
But, like,
Created a lot of
we'd
jobs for
to-
people.
Yeah, we want to. If we open another restaurant, you get a whole new set of jobs, and then more of the higher level jobs. So we'll see what happens, but
Our intention is to grow it and expand it.
yeah.
Stay tuned.
Think about where the Madison location should be. That would be nice.
We,
Someday, we'll see.
we would love that. I have some ideas. We'll talk
Okay,
off
cool.
camera.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Well, I think probably we should cook some chicken.
Yeah.
Fry some chicken and some
Yeah.
other things.
Awesome.
And so let's just stand up from here
Great.
and walk back there.
Great. All right.
I do want to point out to everyone, in case you thought this was not a legitimate Wisconsin demo.
Oh,
Butter.
Oh, you know what? I don't have an apron, but that's okay. I'm not going to mess up, so don't worry.
Oh, do you want me? I don't have to wear an apron.
No, you do
I'll go
whatever you want.
apronless. You don't need an apron.
Should I wear one and you two don't? No, I'm kidding.
Kyle wears the apron.
I'm not going to wear one.
All right, cool.
Cool.
Yeah, we don't need it.
So we're going to make some food. We're going to make a few things. We're definitely going to make the fried chicken. We're going to make our honey butter. We're going to make our candied jalapeno mayonnaise, which is another dipping sauce for our fried chicken. We're going to make our kale and cabbage slaw, because you got to have some vegetables when you're eating fried chicken.
Because mom's watching.
That's right.
Yeah, we like to have a little bit of green, healthy, to balance
Some good roughage.
this.
But we're going to also do our corn muffins, which come with every order of fried chicken, and people really love. Honey butter is great on the corn muffins too. What's
Correct. I was going to say, the first thing that we need to do is make sure our fryer is on,
Thank
which
you.
it may not be.
It doesn't seem. I'll get it going. But
So that's tip number 1.
So I just have to tell everybody who can't see from back
yeah.
here, this is a Vollrath mini fryer.
You guys,
It's
this
beautiful.
fryer is
Yeah, by the way.
The
amazing.
best. It's the, if it were an appropriate analogy, you could say it's the Mercedes of fryers, but that would mean like Vollrath's better than Mercedes. So
This
like
is
we guess
nice,
you-
though.
Like Mercedes is the Vollrath of cars. Yeah.
Look at those little baby baskets. They're so cute.
they're really cute. You know, I gotta say, we have a couple of portable fryers for events, and they're not Vollrath. We should get this because it's actually beautiful. So
We can't go back after this.
corn muffins.
Yes.
Though. We're gonna get the corn muffins
Yeah,
going
let's
because
do
they
that
have
first.
to bake, and we want them to be done before we're
Cool.
finished. So
I'm going to get some gloves because that's important.
cool. And let me know if I can help you, Christine.
So at the restaurant, maybe you can.
Okay.
At the restaurant,
There you
we
go.
serve. We knew that we wanted to have something to go with fried chicken. Traditionally, that would be like a biscuit or cornbread, but we wanted to make it our own. Again, just trying to copy other people or just follow strict tradition. So we came up with these corn muffins. They're a little bit lighter than a cornbread, but they still have cornmeal in them. We get really amazing cornmeal from a farmer in Illinois. But they're really good with the honey butter. And the mix goes, it's so easy. You actually don't need any cooking, you don't need a mixer. You can just do it by hand. So it starts with the dry mix. So I'm just gonna, can you guys see this? Kinda.
Cool.
Is there a mirror?
No,
they have
there's
a
a
TV.
camera.
Right about,
What?
Yeah,
about
right
you,
there,
Christine.
Christina.
Okay.
You're on television. And it's broad. It's like,
Look
there we
over
go.
here.
Look at, look.
Oh my
there you
god,
are.
okay, I don't want to watch myself. Okay, so starts with flour, so I'm gonna pour that in here. And then we use 2 different types of cornmeal. We like fine cornmeal and coarse cornmeal because we find that the texture is really nice. So the fine cornmeal kind of just melts into the batter, and then the coarse cornmeal gives it a little crunch. So
How long did it take you two to perfect this?
oh my god,
Like
this
a
was
lot
the
of testing.
hardest.
How many chickens were sacrificed?
Oh, just chicken?
A lot of cornmeal.
But the corn muffin actually was really difficult. To
This
get
was the
down.
hardest thing that
We did a lot of testing.
that we did. So of course, yeah, because we didn't know what we wanted to do and how we wanted it. It took probably two years to
We
figure
also
this
have a
out.
lot of challenge. I mean, one of the things we're really lucky when we opened, we thought Christine and I would butcher 10 or 15 chickens a day, and we'd have on the busiest day maybe 75 or 100 people. And now we sometimes have over 1,000 in our little tiny restaurant on a Saturday. And we had to figure out a recipe that can really scale up and work for that many people. So
Great, agreed.
yeah.
Okay, so then that's the flour, the corn meals, both of them kosher salt, which we really like. and then a little bit of baking powder to give the muffins a little lift.
And you will have the recipes? You have
Yeah.
the recipes, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Enjoy.
We also do sell this mix at Honey Butter. If
You can buy it online, honeybutter.com. We're always selling. Okay, so this is, man, your purchase supports 60 really well taken care of employees.
Yes.
So, but you can also make this at home. It's fine. So you want to mix the dry mix together, and then we're going to start to add. Sugar. Whoops, I forgot sugar. Sugar's important.
Sugar's important.
We want that little bit of sweetness in
No
there.
self-respecting cornbread can live
That's
without
right.
sugar. Yeah.
Okay, so that's that, and then we're going to start adding our wet ingredients to the dry. It's whole milk, eggs, oil, and melted butter. Now we've found. Yes, I agree. You can clap for that. We have found that adding when you add cold milk and warm butter, the butter can kind of seize a little bit.
Science.
I know, right?
Right?
So we're gonna add the eggs, the milk, and the oil, and mix that all in first to get it incorporated, and it kind of takes the temperature, the edge off the temperature, and then we put the butter in at the end. So like, we want to make sure that you do that, just because that's a little chef tip.
Do you
Okay.
need me to warm up the butter for you, or you?
No, it's
Okay.
melted.
Oh, cool. Great.
Look, from the magic of television.
Nice.
Little
Okay.
pastry chef tips
So
here.
I'm gonna put these eggs in. Like, look how easy this is to put together.
Which
we
you
also
were.
wanted something super, like, well, we do this in the restaurant. We do like a 22 quart batch, but we do it the same way. We don't use mixer. We use our hands.
So this is like pastry chef intuitive stuff, and you were
Yeah.
a pastry chef.
I was.
Yeah.
Back in my other life.
Back in your other life at Blackbird. Any of you heard of Blackbird, Chicago
It's a
restaurant?
very fancy restaurant.
Super dope.
It's super dope,
great.
like Kyle said.
Yeah.
It's been open for a really long time, and it's got a really good reputation. And I did pastry there.
The
so this is
exec
my
chef
skill.
of Blackbird and a VEC and a number of publican, Paul Kahn, is just literally confirmed with me the other day for this series next
No
year.
way.
Wow.
That's so cool. He's
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
love Paul.
That's my
Paul's-
former employee.
Paul's super cool, and he has a new cookbook out, so you'll be able to
Nice.
have him
Okay.
sign it, and he'll do recipes from the cookbook.
So you guys see that? It's kind of like nicely emulsified. And then I'm gonna just put the butter in over the top. And Josh, you wanna pull out
me
that
the
cast
pan?
iron? Okay,
So-
so let's talk about safety. So we have had this cast iron pan in the oven for an hour and a half.
Open behind
So
you.
what does that mean? It's a very hot.
Screaming.
So please, like life-changing hot. Like
Yeah.
that's hot.
Yeah.
So don't touch it.
You could brand a cow with that pan.
You could do a lot of. You will
Do you
have.
want to spray this?
Yes, we call it life-changing hot in the restaurant.
This is a
it'll-
very well-seasoned pan, though, so thank you, chefs here at
Okay,
Madison College.
Kyle, can you put that in my bin for me? My
Anything-
dirty bin. Thank
Anything
you.
for you.
Okay, so we're gonna spray it pretty well with pan spray because we really, really, really don't want it to stick. We want it to kind of come out in once. So
There was three reallys. Three
really,
reallys.
yeah. We are
Yeah.
be generous with the pan spray.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna put this in. Now, since it's been heating so long, how's the oven feel hot?
Yeah, it's good.
It'll start to immediately lift.
Quality things here at
As soon as you
Madison
pour it in
College.
the pan, it starts to bake, which gives it that nice. We put a little baking powder in it, but it'll give it a nice lift. It's like I can already see the batter starting to like go.
Yeah, and caramelizes almost immediately. Yeah.
And that's you get the nice crust. So Josh's gonna put that in the oven.
Cool. Hot.
Because cornbread without that crispy is not cornbread.
It's not
Yeah.
as good.
Yeah. It's
Okay,
just not.
so
So
we
we're
did
gonna
that
keep an eye on
first. We did that first because we want to show you like how you can multitask in the kitchen, and we want that to be done baking by the time our fried chicken's done.
Truth.
Okay.
So one other thing we're going to get started right away is our candied jalapenos.
Thank you.
So
You're
this is
welcome.
a Fresno and this is a green jalapeno, but we like the color of both, so we use both at the restaurant. We try to really minimize waste at Honey Butter, so we came up with this candied jalapeno mayonnaise, which is kind of the great combination of spicy and sweet. And I'll tell you first how we candy them. It's incredibly simple. We take the stems off. You don't have to, actually, because you could take them off later, but it'll just make our lives a little easier. And if you don't want it to be as spicy, you could take the seeds out. But I'm just going to take this whole jalapeno, drop it into some simple syrup. So this is just sugar and water, equal parts, brought up to temperature to simmer. And we're going to let these peppers just simmer in that until they're really kind of shriveled and soft.
You want to turn it on?
It's on. I've had it going.
It's on.
Yeah.
I can't see it.
Well, it's not like bubbling, but it's on.
Okay.
That's that's that one.
There we go.
There
Got
we
it.
go. Yeah.
So we're gonna let that simmer until they're really kind of wrinkly and soft and ready to go. And what's cool about it is the peppers then will buzz into mayonnaise to make our candied jalapeno mayonnaise. The syrup will now be spicy, simple syrup, like jalapeno flavor. We actually use that to make candied jalapeno margaritas at Honey Butter Fried
Hey
Chicken.
now.
So those are delicious.
Something that we didn't really touch on in our conversation is one of our other philosophies in the restaurant is not waste.
Yeah.
Not wasting things. Food is obviously, there's a cost to everything, but also just from an ethical standpoint of not putting food in the garbage. So we really do try to be super creative with how we use like the bones from the chickens that we butcher. You know, we turn them into stock, we run them for schmaltz, and you know, really trying to use the syrup from the candied jalapenos. And we have one of the cool things that we do also is when we dredge the chicken, we have this like the flour that you dredge the chicken in that has like clumps of buttermilk in it, and like normally you would just throw that out. We add a little extra buttermilk, kind of break it up into little pieces and fry it off. And so we have these like chicken crust crunchies.
Oh
There's not chicken in them, but
that'd be
like
so
we're like, we don't want to throw out all this flour, like such a
Yeah.
waste. So now we have these little crunchies and we put them on everything.
Sure. One of my favorite chef learning moments was now a longtime buddy of mine, but he's a chef, and then their partner's restaurateur, but he's the chef. And he said, you know, I walked through the kitchen, and there might be the butt end of a loaf of bread, right? We're not going to use that for anything. But I would rather put some peanut butter on it and eat it myself, even if I'm not hungry, than throw it into the garbage.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So should we make some fried chicken?
Yeah, do we want to do the brine? Do you want me to do brine?
You want to talk about the brine?
Yeah, so we touched on that a little bit
I'll come
earlier
to
about talking about how to get the chicken super juicy, especially since we take the bone out. And we found that brine is the best way to do that. So brine is like a salt sugar solution that we soak our chicken in for up to a couple days, honestly.
Yeah,
So we
usually
do
24 hours.
24 hours is ideal, but you can go a little. We can go a little longer because we do huge fats.
Yeah, and we can adjust the concentration too.
Right, but the recipe that we gave you is like pretty standard for a chicken or two chickens, and you do 24 hours.
It doesn't say
Okay.
24
What poundage do you use?
I think it's 18 to 24 hours.
What pound?
Three
like what
pounds.
size?
Usually three to
3
3.5.
pound? Yeah,
Depending on what time of year and what's happening. But,
Sure.
yeah, go for it.
So you want to talk them through
Sure.
it while I do it? We're
So,
gonna
Normally
tag team
we
this
do
one.
heat this up because you want the salt and the sugar to dissolve. And then, of course, you cool it down before you add the pieces of chicken to it. We're just going to show you how we would mix it, and then we'll, through the magic of demos here, we're going
Right,
to
the time warp.
go right to it. But
Okay.
we have water first, and then we have some salt and some sugar, and the ratio should be in your recipe.
It's about
and
1 to 1.
So what kind of, because salt can change a lot
Yeah.
based on what you use, so do you use like...
We use Diamond Crystal Kosher.
Okay, cool.
And it doesn't matter so much what you use. We like that salt. It feels good to us in terms of how it feels when we're grabbing it.
No, totally.
And how it
Yep.
tastes, and it's a little bit less dense than some of their competitors.
Yeah.
But the real important thing is just use the same one across the board. Get used
Right.
to one salt.
Yep.
And then that way you are adjusting based on that one.
There's a lot of chef wars with Diamond Crystal versus Morton's.
Yeah,
a
true.
lot of chef wars.
I might be a Morton's guy, but I
Wow.
know exactly what a teaspoon is in my hand.
Yeah.
And so now I'm screwed. Like I can never change.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can.
Yeah,
it's too
'cause I
hard.
had to
And
be, you know.
I remember, like, we're Diamond Crystal people.
Yeah. But we
No
can still be
judgment.
friends. No, we can still be
We're
friends.
friends. We're
Yeah,
friends
it's okay.
across the aisle.
Sure.
But I remember going into, we do a lot of stuff with our friends who own a brewery called Half Acre Beer.
Sure, their Daisy
and
Cutter was one of
Daisy
my-
Cutter.
When
Daisy
I
Cutter,
drank,
great.
I drank a lot of it.
It's delicious.
So I'm just
Me
saying-
too.
I'm just saying.
That's another interview. But we do a lot of cool events for them, and so we'll cook in their kitchen sometimes. And I remember the first time we did it, we're like, "What is this salt? It's not. It's like harder, but it's it's all different."
One cool thing about a brine is you can add all kinds of flavors to it. So at Honey Butter, we do a little lemon peel and chili flake.
Smell.
Just gives a little flavor to the chicken or whatever the meat is. You could do thyme. You could do any herb.
Right.
And we do brines at Sunday Dinner Club for our pork sometimes, and we'll have orange with pork
And then some of
chili.
this.
Yeah.
What's
so
that?
chili flake.
Chili flake. Okay.
Yeah. So again, normally we would heat this up and let it all dissolve. I mean, if you really have a
It's
strong
actually
whisk,
so the
you can
water is
probably get
also
it mixed.
room temperature. And it looks actually pretty dissolved right now, which is great.
So the next step is to get your chicken, and I don't know if you guys can see above. Can you see this chicken over here on the stove? I'll talk about how we cut our chicken.
Where do you get your birds?
They're Miller's Amish chickens from Indiana.
Yep.
So they're cage-free, antibiotic-free, humanely raised chickens. I mean, part of our thing is that
damn fine good
we
chicken.
sometimes go through 300 chickens a day, and we always are trying to choose the best product for our operation. A lot of our vegetables, a lot of our ingredients come from our farmers in the region, and we try to kind of go through a list of what's important to us, and certainly making sure that the quality is there. That with things like meat, we really want antibiotic-free. We'd like the animals to have a reasonable existence. And at Sunday Dinner Club, we have the luxury of using like a pasture-raised bird from a farmer that we directly know.
Right.
But in the quantities that we're doing it, we have to find chicken that is consistently sized.
Yep.
And is widely.
Because your margins are dependent upon it to support those 60 people and everything else.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting, I mean, the chicken that we're using is many times more expensive than like the commodity chicken you'd get at Popeyes.
What?
Sorry, I don't know. I've never been there.
Fine,
Sorry, you okay? All right, so chicken.
I don't think you shocked anybody, Josh.
Judgment-free zone.
I don't think that was a provocative statement.
Besides the corn muffin, the hardest thing that we had to do and the most time-consuming and the most challenging was picking a chicken source. We worked on it for a long time. This is really important to us. It's the main thing that we sell, and these were animals, and we want to respect that. So it's important to us. So
again, it's the last word.
That's right. It's the last word.
So we have the pieces of chicken that we bread and fry at honey butter are the breast, the thigh, and the drum. The wings, we do a little bit different preparation. We do them with a little cornstarch and then put a glaze on them. And then, again, the bones become our stock. So we do use everything. But what we do is we do a cut that gets us 2 thighs. And the skin is missing from these thighs. We do leave the skin on, but it'll be just fine for this purposes. So these are the thighs. I'm going to drop those into the brine.
The brine actually did dissolve, which is...
Yeah.
We planned it that way.
These are the drumsticks. Yep. And then these are the breasts. We split the breasts. I'm getting a face full of heat here, so I'm going to step over. The breasts we actually split in half just to kind of make them cook a little more efficiently. And we also do this cool thing. I don't know if you can see this, but we give a little slit to kind of just gently butterfly. It helps get the brine in there, and it also helps the chicken cook evenly. And again, our challenge is we might drop 100 pieces of chicken in a fryer, and we need to make sure that they all get done pretty quickly. If you're at home, you don't have to do this, but you really have to control your temperature, and we'll talk more about that in a moment.
So this part can't be underscored, because getting that many pieces of chicken in this case, or if you're frying French fries at Lambeau or whatever, like getting that number of things to cross the finish line at the same time, the same quality, is something that's overlooked for most chefs. But if you could just master that, it's an incredible. You're at a different level.
I mean, think about if we literally have 3 fryers that could hold up to 75 pieces of chicken, maybe more depending on the size of the chicken. And if we put them all into the fryer, I can't lift the basket and have one piece that's way overcooked and one piece that's way undercooked. So having consistently sized things go in the fryer is probably our most important requirement for the chicken. So
all I can see with the brine too, like it might seem like a big batch of brine for like chicken, but we want to give it some room to sort of marinate in it for a while.
Definitely. These containers are great though, even for home cooks, these Lexons. So, okay, so chicken's gonna sit in the brine through the magic of TV.
I'm gonna put this chicken in the fridge so we can use it later.
We have our brine chicken down here, which I'm gonna leave in the container for a moment while we get our chicken dredge ready to go. So this is our secret, so take notes on this one. We tried a million different ways to do fried chicken.
Right here in front of God and everyone.
Yeah, we love simple, but we also love there to be some zippy flavors in there. So
9 ingredients in this pan.
Honestly, you can make really good fried chicken with just salt and black pepper. So don't be afraid if you don't have all these things. Just go for it anyway with what you got. But it starts with flour. So this is just all-purpose flour.
King Arthur, something like that.
Yeah, we use King Arthur at the restaurant.
Yeah.
One trick is that we also add a little bit of rice flour to it. Rice flour gives you a
Rice
little
flour.
bit crispier.
Kind of like cornstarch, it just like crisps up the batter.
Yeah, it's a little. It cooks a little crispier, and so we get the best of both worlds with the wheat flour and the rice flour. And then we have all of our spices. So before that, a little baking powder, just a tiny bit, gives a little lightness to the crust.
Yep.
And then we have salt. We like to season the batter. It's funny, one of the things we always tell our cooks is make sure everything tastes good as you're doing it. So when we mix our chicken flour, I don't know if it's a glamorous job, but we really do make them take a taste of it to make sure that the chicken flour itself actually tastes good, which I know seems crazy, but give it a little tiny taste and make sure it tastes good.
I mean, we've known here in Wisconsin, the land of sausage. I know, it is. I know so many sausage makers that would always taste the raw beef, pork, what have you, and that would tell them about the entire batch, and then they might send it back and say, I'm literally not making this today.
Yeah.
But it was, they had to have
you gotta
that.
Taste
gotta have it.
everything.
Well, the brine seasons the chicken internally, but we have this. The best part about fried chicken is the crust, right?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that is seasoned, and not just on the outside, that it's the flour itself is seasoned when it adheres to the chicken.
Right.
So that was onion powder I just put in there, a little garlic powder, and then we have our cayenne pepper, just a pinch, give a little heat to it, and then lots of black pepper. We love black pepper in fried chicken, so you can see that's some fresh cracked black pepper. And then the last ingredient in here, and then we're also going to put on the outside of the chicken, is our smoked paprika. This is actually a Spanish spice. It's called pimentón.
Oh, really?
It's a sweet, smoky.
I'm a Hungarian, so it's
we're using the smoked stuff.
Did our friendship just get ruined?
Well, it's kind of we're on the ropes, but it's okay.
So I'm gonna
We'll
grab-
win him back with the honey butter. I
Yeah.
promise.
I think we'll see what happens. You can definitely use Hungarian. You can do whatever you want.
Okay, yeah, I know I can, but I'm just So it's what you guys use. So how long did it take to R&D this?
A
long
while.
time.
I mean, we did this dinner every year for several years at Sunday Dinner Club, and every year it would shift a little bit. It probably took us 3 or 4 years to arrive at this technique. It was always not crunchy enough, and then we tried adding the rice flour, and that helped. It wasn't flavorful enough, so we started adding different spice combinations, and we kind of got where we oh wow, that's delicious chicken.
Yeah.
And that kind of got set, and then of course once the honey butter gets on there, it's a whole new ball.
It's all over, yeah.
One of the reasons for the smoked paprika is we found that it goes really well with the honey butter. There's something about the sweet, salty butter and the smokiness of the paprika that just sort of works well. You'll see.
So in cooking, there's no new ideas, right? I mean, we're all just taking from the first time that humankind basically had a raw meat fall into the fire and it caramelized, and they went, oh, that's good.
Right.
That's really good.
We've just been riffing ever since
Yeah, I
then.
mean, it's true. No, it's true. So was there any, not that you necessarily started with, but was there any fried chicken recipe where you're like, wow, you know, Keller's ad hoc fried chicken?
Keller's ad hoc fried chicken.
Was it really?
Hugely-
Was it really?
Yeah. Good
100%.
call.
Yeah. Well, it's
Hugely inspiring.
I've made it, and
Yeah,
it's
it's
delicious. And he's such a tactician, but it's also worth every ounce of time and energy.
Yeah. And we cooked a million different recipes. His recipe was amazing. He does a double coat on it, but his spice mix is great, and it's definitely similar to ours. It's not the same, but it's amazing fried chicken, and obviously he's the master.
So quick side story, when he was coming through Milwaukee, second or third year that we were filming Wisconsin Foodie, and Paul Bertolotto is a buddy of his, so he said, was going to do, and he's doing a book tour, and I'm standing in the kitchen of Lake Park Bistro, their French restaurant, where he's going to do a thing next to their big fryer, and at the time, the sous chef there was a buddy that I went to high school with, lost track of, and his name was Brian, and he's opining about all of the steps it takes for this fried chicken. Kind of vociferously. And Keller is hanging around the corner listening to this.
Yikes.
And then he comes around the corner and, Brian's like, chef. And I'm like, chef. And he's like, how you doing?
That's really fun.
You guys seen Paul?
That's terrible.
Yeah.
He's
his recipe is definitely
amazing.
in the DNA of our recipes.
his
So
ad
thank you,
hoc
Thomas.
cookbook is amazing.
His
Thank
ad
you,
hoc
Thomas.
cookbook is the only one that I can cook from.
Yeah, it's
Right.
But it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we got our mix, we got our buttermilk. So this is just straight buttermilk, and obviously we have the chicken already from the brine. So I'm going to take the chicken out of the brine, and we're going to go into the buttermilk, and we're going to talk about battering. Kyle, I'm going to drop this down here. You want any of these chicken juices? So a couple key things. When you're working with fried chicken or battering anything, it really helps to mentally prepare. And you want to think about wet hand, dry hand. Okay, it's like a Mr. Miyagi
Wax
kind
on,
of
wax
situation.
off.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Don't cross them.
No.
so
Don't
as best you
cross
can.
them.
You're not going to be perfect.
So
but
that's a Ghostbusters. We have two
Don't
narratives
cross the
going.
streams.
Right. We have Karate Kid and Ghostbusters going.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
And
Josh and
the
I are both
reason-
children of the 80s, so.
Yeah.
The dry hand, if it gets a little wet and then you go back in the dry, it's going to start to get clumpy and messy and sticky, and it's just going to slow you down. You're going to have to switch out your glove or wash your hand. So we really try to stay mentally prepared for that. It's actually harder than it seems. I know it's.
I was going to say, how many times has this backfired with people you are training?
Often when I'm doing a demo, it backfires. So, all right. So take the chicken out of the brine, and then we're actually going to go right into the buttermilk. We'll usually do several pieces, and again, some days we batter 2,500 pieces of chicken, so we try to move faster.
So what'd you do today?
Yeah.
When Josh and I opened our restaurant, I know we mentioned it before, but we really did think that we would going to serve 100 people a day, and that Josh and I would work in the kitchen every day, and we'd butcher all the chicken and fry it and clean up the kitchen and go home. And then the first day, 1,000 people show up, and we're like, we're going to have
We
to
spent the whole night
hire
butchering.
some more people right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
And now we do, sometimes 2,500 pieces.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so chicken and buttermilk. Want to make sure the fully gets coated.
Wet hand.
Wet hand is on the left here. This is my dry hand. And then I'm going to take the piece of chicken, place it into the flour. I'm going to do a couple pieces at the same time. Actually, we'll do both the drums so we stay nice and
So as an
even.
anecdote of how beloved the fried chicken, honey butter fried chicken is, my brother had a work colleague that would say that his low honey butter fried chicken light would come on about every 8 days. And if he didn't go back and have more, he would lose any superpowers he may have.
We're very we have a lot of very passionate folks about the fried chicken.
Yeah.
So as you saw me battering, I'll do the next one so you guys can see, but I'm really kind of pressing to make sure that we get every nook and cranny. And honestly, getting a little bit of moisture into this mix is good because you start to get those kind of like Cragleys, we call them, of flour and buttermilk.
It's a technical term in the culinary world.
So I start by
Cragleys.
sprinkling over the wet part because, again, if I just reach down and touch that, my dry hand is going to get wet.
Yeah.
So I start by sprinkling it over, and then I just start really flipping and rolling and pressing. There's a million ways to do this. People do it in a bag. The idea is all the same. You're trying to just make sure it's well coated. And if you were doing a double batter, which some chefs do, we would now go back into the buttermilk and then back into the flour, and you'd have a really
And
extra
that's just
thick crust.
bananas, by the way.
I think it's a little too much.
I've tried
Yeah.
that, and I actually didn't like it as much,
Yeah,
but
I
I was
agree.
like, now we're just going too far.
Oh, go ahead.
In the early days, how many nights did you go home and fall asleep and dream of battering chicken?
We still dream about battering chicken.
Close your eyes and
Often.
all you see is chicken.
I did a lot of the, since of my pastry skills were put to use, tested really when we opened. I had dreams about muffins.
Yeah.
Muffin burning dreams, which is
Sure.
why you guys see me keeping going to check.
Yeah.
Another thing that's really great about having a business partner, a co-chef, is that Josh can batter chicken while I can check.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I mean, it's also nice to have a solo cooking time. It's like a very soulful experience, but it's also good to cook with a friend.
Well,
You can be
yeah.
in two places at once.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we also have, we probably have like a full-time person who just makes our corn muffins. I mean, it's a
We have
crazy
several
operation.
full-time people that do
Yeah.
it now.
Right.
I did want to let you guys know that I did rotate the pan because
Cool.
I want to make sure that there's even browning and it's getting pretty close. So I'll keep checking on that, and then when it's done, I'll let you know.
So I don't know if you can still see this chicken flour, but if you look now in here, you see these little crunch, like these little bits, if we fry them, are delicious. It's a dangerous thing to have buckets of this around our restaurant. Been trying to go to the gym a little more.
It's like this is the pork rind of the chicken
It
world,
really is.
basically. Yeah.
So we've got our battered chicken. The next step is to fry it. I'm going to take off the one glove. I'll keep my glove that's been touching the flour
So,
there.
child of the '80s, kind of a Michael Jackson thing now.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he got weird, but there were some
He
great
did.
songs.
Let's,
It's just we all think it. We all love the music. We just can't get behind some other stuff.
so frying chicken is not as scary
Well
as it
said.
seems. You definitely can do this at home in a shallower pan, like a cast iron pan,
That's how we started.
Yeah. These little things are wonderful, and obviously this is a great one we got here. And this just controls the heat for us. But the biggest thing is to control your temperature. A lot of people will fry chicken at home and be frustrated because it looks beautiful and crispy, and then you go inside, cut it open, and it's basically raw.
Yes.
And
I've played that game and lost.
Yeah. So that reason why that happens is because you're frying it too high of a temperature. Normally we're taught to fry, French fries or something like that at a high temp. You're trying to get it crispy fast. But with chicken, it's chicken. If you think about cooking a piece of chicken, you can't do it medium rare. You have to cook it completely. So controlling your temp is the most important part of it. At the restaurant, we fry at about 320 degrees. So that seems low. But we're putting a lot of chicken into our fryers, and then you also need to factor in that the fryer has to recover, which means when you put the piece of cold chicken in, the oil temperature drops, and you need to come back. If it drops to 250, you're going to have very greasy chicken.
Especially if you're not using a professional piece of equipment. Like if you're using cast iron pan, you really want to regulate the oil.
Totally.
Think of it as like a different style of sous vide.
Excuse me.
Totally, you're right. Yeah, you're trying to draw it out.
Yeah.
Let it go, get the cooking done, but make sure the crust is beautifully golden. So, we do it was a little crazy at first to make sure that we could fry thousands of pieces of chicken, and like the nightmare is somebody cutting open a piece of chicken and having it not be fully cooked.
Let's not go to that place.
But we've spent a lot of time figuring out how to avoid that.
Traumatic.
Still a trigger.
Very traumatic.
I'm going to grab my piece of chicken. I'm going to place it in the fryer. When you put a piece of food into a fryer, we like to be very gentle and focused. Don't be doing anything else at this moment. And I'm going to place it in there. I'm going to let it drop away from me. So if it splashes, it's going to splash that way as opposed towards me.
So I can't tell you, I've been in a lot of kitchens with cameras documenting the Wisconsin fish fry.
Yeah.
And there are basically two types of people in this world. There are people that seek death and pain when making fish, and there are people that follow Josh's approach. And,
you got to be careful.
And it's one of those things that you just develop a sense for when you've been in enough kitchens, that I'll inherently know what kind of chef or cook I'm standing near, and be able to subconsciously step back away from the fryer.
Yes.
And it's just started happening.
You want to get closer?
Yeah, no, I'm comfortable with you, but it just started happening around the 4th or 5th year of being in this career, because I'm like, okay, you're a psycho, and I'm going to be over here. Or you're a good friend.
We talked about life-changing hot.
Yes.
That'll change your life, but in a bad, real bad way.
Or you were hugged enough by your mother, and we can fight together.
You don't want that. Yeah. You don't want that change.
So one note, guys, I don't know if you noticed, but I waited about a minute or so before I put these breast pieces in. They don't have the bone in them, so they're going to cook faster than the drumstick. The drums will probably take 12 to 14 minutes. They're pretty big. The breast will cook faster, although it'll probably still be 10 minutes at least.
I'm going to pull this, Josh.
You're going to pull it?
I think so.
That's fine.
Oh, it's pretty. It's pretty. Put that down for the cameras.
Ooh, look at that.
Right there. Can we get a shot of this? Come on. Yeah.
Notice that
If we cut it, will the juices run clear?
Yes, it's done. So a little trick too, I cook with a lot of cast iron at home, and I know when I pull something on the oven, I've definitely done this before, where I walk away and listen to music, and I go like that. Don't do that.
Yep.
So I leave the towel on the pan. That's a little tip.
Right there on my thumb. Still.
There it is.
Right there.
Oh yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, that's the spot. Yeah.
Don't do that.
So this is a battle between my wife and I, who now we cook more equally. She used to do most of the cooking. And we're both America Test Kitchen geeks, right? We love that show. And she was always relying on towels. And I was like, I love your hands. I'm going to put an expensive thing on it eventually. This is while we were dating. So can we talk about silicone oven mitts? And she was like, my towels are fine. Yeah. So this was, it was a point of tension where I sat her down and made her watch the episode where they tested everything from a couple of napkins to towels, blah, 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 and silicone oven mitts, people. Silicone oven mitts. That's all I'm saying.
Our friendship is deteriorating.
We're learning a lot.
We're like creatures of habit, so chefs, we're just very towel-oriented. But yeah, the silicone mitts are great. You're not going to hurt yourself, and they probably won't melt or burn.
Right.
So a couple quick things before we move on to the next dish. I just checked the peppers. They're getting close. I think we'll do that after the slaw.
Yeah, I want to make the honey butter.
Cool.
Yeah?
But the chicken, I just want to tell you guys, like, just listen to it. It's kind of like
it's singing.
it's not super crazy. It's not bubbling. It just sounds just right. I gave it a little shake just to kind of make sure that they're not sticking together. So far, it looks pretty beautiful and nice and blonde still. Like if it was really dark at this point, I'd be concerned that the temperature is too high.
Yeah.
Having a really good meat thermometer, this is a great one, it seems, but something that's really instant read and powerful. I can't definitely tell you that investing in a really high quality meat thermometer is a great thing for your kitchen, and we actually have them all over our restaurants because we want to be able to take the temp. And I can also take the temperature of the oil.
And they've come down a lot. It used to be they're quite expensive. Bought one as a gift. My brother has an outdoor, anyway, it doesn't matter, but he can be literally outside or inside his cottage while he's got a smoker or a fryer, like 60 feet away, and it'll read the temperature.
That's amazing.
It's really cool. Yeah.
I don't want to just keep like tooting Vollrath's horn, but like this fryer that I just put the cold chicken in just recovered, and it is exactly 320 degrees and holding. So I'm impressed.
Yes.
Well done.
I just took the temperature of the oil. I'm not even going to start temping the chicken yet because I know it's not done. We'll get there in probably about 7-8 minutes. We'll start checking the temperature.
Something our cooks always ask us, especially our younger cooks, are like, how long does it take? And we're like, it's done when it's done. But
in Denver, longer.
In Denver, longer because you're at altitude. In general, I would say like 10 to 16 minutes is a good range. But like, you can't rely on that with chicken because you got to temp it because you don't want to have raw chicken.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's talk about honey butter. So honey butter,
The first word.
The first words. We are super lucky and grateful that we source both our butter and our honey from farmers in Wisconsin. So thank you very much.
Woo!
Yes. We
our
have
honey's from Gene at Gentle Breeze here.
Which some of
He's
y'all
at
might
the
know.
Green City Farmers Market, or at the Madison Farmers Market.
Yep.
And then we get our butter from Nordic Creamery.
Oh, yeah.
So they, so what used to happen is they would each bring the butter down and the honey down. Like Gene would come with these like 700-pound things of honey, and he's the strongest man we know, and bring the honey, and then they would deliver the Nordic Creamery butter, and then we would mix it in the mixer. Like we actually had one full-time employee that made all the butter. That's all she did because we went going through so much of it. And I don't know if you know this, but Nordic Creamery and Gentle Breeze are pretty close to each other. And so we all got to talking one day, and I know Nordic Creamery was like, well, why doesn't Gene just bring the honey to us and we'll mix it in our industrial mixers and then deliver your honey butter?
Oh, cool. Yeah.
5 years it took us to figure that out. So now our actual honey butter is made at Nordic Creamery.
In Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is why it's so good.
I agree.
Okay, so it starts with butter, and we are pre-tempered this. I'm using a glove just because I...
Salted or unsalted?
Unsalted, because we want to add our own salt. Honey is sweet, obviously, but it changes. So you want to be able to adjust as needed. So,
because it's an organic product that responds to the environment instead of a big processed.
Anyway. Okay, so it starts with butter, and I'm going to turn our mixer on low first, and I want to get this going because it takes a while because we want to whip a lot of air into it so it becomes light and fluffy. So then when you spread it on the chicken, it just goes like this, right? It just like, we like the airiness of it, so we actually whip it for, well, they do now, but like we whip it for a really long time before adding the honey.
It's, if you, well, a bunch of you haven't been, it's akin to a really great French or Swiss chocolate, and the way that it melts on your palate when it just gets to that basically body temp, and it just, like there's nothing you can do about it, just falls apart perfectly. That's what this honey butter does on top of the chicken.
All right, I'm gonna go up to speed 3.
Wow.
You can do this by hand, but if you have a mixer, I would recommend. Yeah. So that's how we just whip it until it becomes like this light pale, almost like icing color. And then we'll start to add the honey and we'll add salt and then we'll let it go a little longer and then we'll taste it because that's important and then we'll be done.
Cool.
It'd be a real shame if we didn't have any samples for you, right?
Can you guys
Eventually
still
we
hear
will.
us?
Don't worry.
Can you hear us over all the machinery? Okay, I can.
I am going to take the temperature of the chicken now. We're obviously, legally or by sanitation expectations, the chicken needs to be at least 165 degrees. One of the nice things about brining it is that even if it gets to 185, even 195, it's still going to be really nice and juicy. So don't stress too much about that. I'm going to take the temp. You want to try to get into the flesh of the chicken at a really thick spot. You don't want to be near the bone because the bone temperature could be a little different.
That looks really good, Josh.
Yeah, it does. The color looks great.
And the bone will retain temperature longer.
And actually, it will keep carrying over. So
Yeah.
it says 147 now. If I took it out, it probably actually would end up somewhere 155, 160.
I was going to say, it'll rise,
The breast, I'm going to take the temp. It might be a little bit more. Yeah, the breast is a little smaller. It doesn't have the bone in it. Actually, it's 130 right now. So we got a little ways to go on that. But that's great. We're drawing out the cooking. Probably another couple minutes on that. And how are we doing on time? Should we?
We're good.
Want to get the slaw
Yeah.
quick?
Yeah, slaw.
You can do the slaw, and then we'll sample.
The mayo or the slaw? Slaw.
Slaw?
I'll do the mayo.
Should we take a vote?
Let's do the mayo.
You guys want to arm wrestle?
All right, so Christine, maybe we should, well, I don't think you can see back there. I'll take a look at these peppers and we'll talk about it from there. So peppers are nice and soft. They're still very spicy, but they have a nice sweetness to them.
Do you want to just make it by hand, or do you want to put it in the blender?
That's a good question. I guess I could just chop it by hand.
I think we could probably fit this over. Let me see if
Is there a plug on the end of it?
Yeah, let me see if I can just get the cord to reach.
Awesome.
I feel the magic. The chi of the demo is with us.
So I'm going to take a little bit of the green and a little bit of the red, and again, it just depends on the quantity of mayo you have. Are you good?
We're golden.
Great. So I got some red and some green jalapenos here, candied. Don't do this at home. Don't walk around with a spoonful of peppers. We're gonna drop this into the food processor. Mayonnaise.
Oh, I took it out for you, Josh.
Cool. Thank
Sorry,
you.
too efficient.
You're good.
So because you're both chefs, of course you make your own mayo.
We do it Sunday Dinner Club. At Honey Butter, we don't.
You don't?
Because it's just, again, the volume we're going through is insane.
Yeah.
So we do when we're doing our small dinners, but not at Honey Butter. We make our own flavored mayonnaise, but we buy the base mayo.
Right.
Hellmann's.
Hellmann's?
Yeah, Okay, so mayo goes in with that, and we're just literally just gonna buzz, and then we're gonna season and taste with salt and pepper. And this condiment, the candied jalapeno mayo, is amazing on pork. It's amazing on fried chicken. It's amazing on fish. So don't be afraid to use it in different ways. Throw this thing on top. Hopefully we'll figure out how to work it. And we're just gonna pulse. And one thing you want to do when you're using a food processor like this, if you don't know, is scrape down your sides just to make sure that it kind of evenly gets buzzed. And if sometimes it's actually easier to do a slightly bigger quantity because you actually can get a little bit more volume and a little bit more room to buzz, but.
So this is sadly, then it's okay. Vollrath doesn't make these. This is somebody else.
Not Vollrath.
But what's the difference between a Cuisinart and a RoboCoupe?
A RoboCoupe is just a brand. Oh, are you asking me?
No, I'm asking anybody in the audience.
Let's let them answer. Does anybody know?
It's the same thing. An American entrepreneur was over in France, discovered RoboCoupes, bought the rights to bring it to America.
Really?
Launched in 1974. It was a very expensive product. It was $375 when it first hit the market at the time in 74. Slowly built up a following because home cooks were like, wow, this thing's amazing. But it's the same engine. It's just
I did not know that.
changed the name.
So that's
Learn something new every day.
You gotta be a food historian and read the United States of Arugula to learn these things.
Yeah. I appreciate that little tidbit. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so candied jalapeno mayonnaise. I'll show it. I don't know if you guys can see this. Oh, you can. Okay, I'll hold it up for you though. Set that back there. So it's just like that. It's sweet. It's spicy. We would taste it. Add a little bit of salt to it.
You want me to do that?
Yeah, let's do it, team. Oh, we have tasting spoons.
Yeah.
It's a culinary
Sweet.
school, dude.
Okay.
That's good.
Here's the salt. Let me do a little salt in there.
Yeah, I need salt.
Okay. Does it need sweetness?
No, it's perfectly
Great.
sweet, spicy.
If we need sweetness, we could add a little bit of the candied jalapeno syrup that's now on the stovetop. Good?
A little more salt.
A little more salt.
So most chefs will have, or most restaurants will have, of course, the exec chef or the, taste, and then probably a sous chef. There's 2 levels of chef that taste at their restaurant, and then maybe a sous, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that
Yeah.
could have been the perfect moment where like Josh seasoned it once and I tasted it and I was like, perfect, but it wasn't perfect. So we're going to keep doing it until we get it right, right?
Well, and we do encourage our cooks to
That's
taste
good.
all day long, so they're constantly tasting the food, which is, I know, a real burden to eat the mac and cheese like 100 times a day, but
All right,
delicious.
let's check the chicken and then let's finish the butter.
Great.
Yeah?
One more temp on the chicken. Looks beautiful.
Yeah, it really
Golden.
does. It's browned up beautifully.
Good.
Oh, we're so close. 163, 165. Woohoo! So
Right on.
that's there. We're gonna let it rest for just a
It's
second.
like the ball drop at New Year's Eve, isn't it? Yeah.
And the breast is perfect. It's hitting right over 165. So that looks great. We're gonna let it rest, let the excess oil drip off. Still be very careful, even though you're excited to eat it. I'm gonna let it drain a little. We're gonna dump it onto a wire rack to let it rest. One of the things about fried chicken is you don't necessarily want to bite into it right away.
No.
We try to let it rest for a few minutes before we give it to you, because you want the juices to settle. Just like any other piece of meat, you want to let it rest and kind of settle down. It's also insanely hot.
Yeah.
So when it comes out of the fryer, we do a couple things. We season it with salt,
It's mouth-changing hot.
and then
That was good.
I mentioned earlier the smoked paprika. Kyle, you should come down here.
Yeah, okay. Oh, all right.
Smell this. So the smoked paprika, the sweet, it's pimenton, Spanish paprika. We sprinkle it on, and you can just smell it as it hits the chicken.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Just a
not
little bit.
spicy at all. It's got a sweet smokiness to
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
and it just kind of gives you the aroma right when it hits.
The merits of paprika are like you could write a whole book about it.
I know,
you
it's
should.
Such a
amazing.
subtle. I got other books to write, but it's such a fantastic spice.
And we do a lot of Spanish food at Sunday Dinner Club, so using pimenton is
Yeah.
something we do often.
Yeah.
All right, honey butter.
Yes.
Even though I'm Hungarian, I'm going to give some room for this.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, honey,
Sorry, Kyle.
Yeah. So,
butter. This is the second part of the honey. So, I pre-measured
wait, so how
those.
many ingredients?
3 ingredients. Well, honey and butter and salt.
Yes.
Look at that beautiful honey in there.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna add the honey, and then I'm gonna re-whip it with the honey in there. Yeah. And then I'm just gonna sort of sprinkle the salt in while it's moving. I didn't just dump it in there because, I mean, obviously it's in a mixer, but I really do want to get it in even distribution. Sprinkle it in. Maybe give it a little more salt.
A little more salt? Yep.
Yeah, I think so. At this point, with making honey butter for so long, I can actually eyeball it and be like, that maybe needs a
Right.
little bit more.
Right.
I'm a honey butter expert at this point. Okay, so we're gonna do the, again, wanna always scrape down, make sure that everything's getting incorporated, because, I mean, I love butter, but I wanna have honey in it and salt. Okay.
So I have a question for you both.
Yeah.
Since you're in the chi of the recipes right now,
The cheese.
if you weren't doing this, I don't mean this demo, I mean this life, this craft, this
Yeah.
path, what would you be doing?
That's a really great question.
Somebody asked us this last week,
I know.
and we were both like, I think I would be a farmer. I think I would be a farmer. I think it's in my blood.
Yeah.
I just really like being outside and growing things, and I really love farmers and farmland, and I probably would do that. It's harder than being a chef.
And you're a dog person, so.
Oh my God, I'm so obsessed with my dog.
Yeah.
I love her so much. I wanted to bring her with, but I didn't.
I also like the idea of farming, but I
Yeah.
don't know. I think like I said, I wanted to save the world a long time ago. I like to argue, so I think being like
That's true.
like an
That's a true
like
statement.
an attorney who like an anti-death penalty attorney, I thought would
Sure.
be a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think about it a lot. Like, what would I do if this? I don't know how this happened to me, but
Right.
I really do feel like I found the thing. I love to eat. I love food, and it's like such a great deal that I wake up in the morning and get to be around food every day.
But you still get to argue.
I do.
And you still get to have social justice. I mean,
True.
not with us. Like,
Yeah, it's the great thing
Josh
is-
argues with a lot of people, like in a very passionate, productive way about employees' rights, employment practices, farming practices, agriculture. So you get to do it just in a different way.
I mean, so what you're both doing. First of all, the way that you're supporting your employees is a total anomaly, and so that's social justice. The fact that you feed people with slow food, with healthy food, with they could literally drive to the place where those things were grown, raised, rendered, harvested. I mean, if that isn't social justice, I don't really know what social justice is.
I appreciate that. Thank
Good
you.
job.
Yeah.
Thank you. So honey butter.
So, I mean, we're going to taste it.
Yeah.
Because you got to.
You'll get there. Don't worry.
I'm just gonna help myself to a spoon here.
So sweet, salty,
Yum.
buttery awesomeness. Should we just visually put a little on the chicken while it's hot so they can?
Oh my
See
God!
what
I'm going to give it like
So good.
30 more seconds.
But I think we should have Kyle put some butter in
Yeah,
there.
we should have Kyle do it. Kyle, are you willing?
I'm willing.
It's a small sacrifice.
It's so simple. It's almost stupid how it's a perfect balance. But anything off, I mean, it's like, I'm going to get poetic for a second. It's like looking at a painting or hearing a great piece of music or something where if you took one tiny element out or you put one extra in, the whole thing would be off skew and just not as pleasurable.
Totally.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's the perfect flavor. Oh my
Here are your
God.
little cups.
Oh my God, look at that.
You want to do it down here, Christine?
Yeah, I want y'all to
Well,
see this.
I'm doing a conversation with Samin Nasrat in
Nice.
October. Yeah.
I love her.
Tell her
I
about
mean-
honey butter fried chicken.
I will. I will. But I mean, salt, fat, acid, heat. Like this
she's
is
great.
salt, fat, and then we've got the sweet. Like,
Well, and the dairy, I'd say, like has a little acid in it. Look at that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, so Kyle, grab one of those spoons.
I'll do it.
And so we tell people to butter the chicken like they're buttering toast.
Yep.
So just get a nice little bit of butter, maybe the back of your spoon kind of situation.
All right.
Yep, and then just butter it.
Just butter. Can I do a drummy?
Do whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
You go to town. I hope it's good.
Come on.
And just like give it a second. Just like let's watch it. Let's see it melt.
Yeah.
Go a little more.
I was about to.
Okay.
Don't.
So it turns out the reason why we're successful is because this looks really good on Instagram. So when you open a restaurant, just make sure that it's very photogenic. Butter melting on chicken is a winning combination.
Are there any folks that go to Collectivo Coffee in this room? Right. Yeah. So I just myself and a chef just did consulting and developed 40 new menu items for them. And the first edict for all the new menu items was we need them to be Instagrammable.
Yeah.
Totally.
And what a world how things have changed. Because it's not like, just quintessentially delicious or, can't get enough people coming back. It's like, no, it's got to look great on Instagram.
Although there's that show, what's that show? David Chang's show, Ugly Delicious.
Ugly Delicious.
Ugly delicious,
And
yeah.
that food is like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
yeah, there's a little subculture going on.
Right.
But very Instagrammable, our food.
Should we make a quick kale slaw and then?
Do the kale slaw.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Christine, you want to get those ingredients and I'll kind of take care of the dressing.
Why
then?
don't
I
you
know
do the
that
dressing
chicken
over
is
there
really
and we'll do the
hot, but it
flyer.
was pretty much all the personal restraint that I had not to just
Take a bite.
into that right
Do
now.
it.
No, I was feeling the temp on my fingers. I'm going to give it another minute or two.
All right.
Because I don't, I make my living with my mouth, so I'd rather just preserve that.
Cool.
Josh, if you need to,
I'm going to do the dressing just in
in
the
the
bowl.
dressing in the bowl.
So why don't I do the dressing first and then we can bring
Okay.
it down to you.
Yep.
So guys, this is a dressing for our kale slaw. It's called sweet tea vinaigrette. We have sweet tea at the restaurant, so it's just tea with sugar in it. And then we like the idea of making a vinaigrette out of it. So it's kind of almost like an Arnold Palmer vinaigrette. It's got lemon and sweet tea, but then it has all the good stuff that you might want to find in a good vinaigrette. So for
you have
us,
the
it
tea?
starts with that sweet tea. This is just
back
sweet
here.
tea right here. Gonna pour that into a bowl. The tea and I dropped into the buttermilk, so we're gonna skip it.
We're not going to use that.
We also put a little pinch of actual black tea into it, but I don't know if you heard, but I dropped it in the buttermilk. So forget that. These are just some minced onions. We drop that into our vinaigrette. And what I do when we're making a vinaigrette is we let that kind of macerate. So just let the onions kind of hang out. But this is a little bit of...
Sherry?
It's just, what does it say in your thing? Rice vinegar or white wine vinegar? Rice. What? Either is fine. So whatever it says is fine. So a little vinegar, and we let the onions just hang out with the onions and kind of infuse their flavor. I also like to add a little bit of salt at this point because I like to season the base and kind of let that hang out. So that might hang out for 10 or 15 minutes. And then we're gonna add a little bit of mustard to it.
Do you need a spatula?
If you have one, that would be great.
I have so many from...
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Vollrath.
Christine's favorite kitchen tool, the spatula.
It's true. It's true.
High heat rubber
The great thing about
silicone spatula.
Spatula is it really
That spatula is my favorite spatula of all time.
minimizes your waste, so you can really get every last bit out of it as best you can. Okay, so that's...
I'm so glad you're doing a vinaigrette. Our late friend Todd Moore taught me how to make a delicious vinaigrette. And the big takeaway for me was time.
Yeah.
Like I understood how to build the flavor, but then just give it time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we came from the same place. So.
Yeah. Which
You can put any kind of base flavor, so a little mashed garlic. You know, if you're making like anchovy is wonderful as a base flavor. Get that all in there. I did add mustard. Mustard is an amazing emulsifier. It'll kind of help the oil bind. And then I'm just going to add oil. This should be grapeseed oil or a neutral oil is fine. If all you have is olive oil, that's great too. But we're really going for the flavor of the tea, and then the acid from the vinegar will kind of help make it zingy. Get that oil in there, and you could do a gentle stream, or you can just kind of go nuts and whisk. You could also do this in the blender, and if you do it in the VitaPrep, it'll probably stay together. I mean, the Vita is powerful enough that it'll stay. If not, just give it a whisk or put it in one of these containers and give it a shake right before you need it. I'm going to give it a quick taste.
What you shouldn't do is leave it in the VitaPrep and then have your wife think, I don't know how, but that it was leftover pancake batter. That happened in my life.
That seems
And
crazy.
Just as you were using expletives when you first tasted the honey butter fried chicken, she was using them in a different way.
Cool. So this will break. It's fine, but then we just whisk it back together when we need it.
Yeah.
It tastes great. Do you want to try it, Teen?
I trust you.
Okay. Cool.
So the other last thing that we're going to show you all how to do before we start eating is super important for our. We make a kale and cabbage slaw. We wanted to have a slaw at the restaurant that was a little less traditional, but still a nod to like a traditional vinegar slaw. So we add kale to ours. Kale is my favorite food. Surprisingly enough, it's not.
Do you have the T-shirt that says Kale looks like Yale, only it says Kale?
I don't have that, but I'll take it if somebody wants to buy it for me. I love kale, I love it. And so we wanted to just add that health to our slaw. But you kind of want to give it like that. You've heard of the massage?
Yep.
Massaging kale, that's like a thing now.
Totally.
But it's super important because it also, this is a raw dish, and like you want to break down the fibers a little bit so you can easily digest it, I guess.
The simplest salad.
It's really better for you.
Simplest salad you could make at home that's good for you, your loved ones, your kids if you have them, grandkid, neighbor, whatever you've got is just rip up kale, little bits, olive oil, salt, massage it for 2 minutes, take the stresses of the day out on the salad.
Yeah. Just now I'm like just kind of like, can you see this?
And it's fantastic.
You just want to like kind of massage it a little bit.
So I forgot the lemon, guys, in the dressing, but we can put it in right now.
Yeah, why don't you
do a little lemon juice, and then ideally a little bit of zest. But I don't know if I see
these
the
guys,
zest.
they have a recipe written down, you'd think.
So if you don't have a zester, you can also just kind
Amateurs.
of peel it with the knife. I just got a little bit of the lemon zest, and I'm going to mince that up real quick. Because I don't see a zester around here. Zester is great, though, and if you had one, you could just zest all that lemon in. But a little bit of this lemon will just be really nice in there. So you could peel it off with a peeler and then chop it up really small. And then get that in for you. And then we're also going to put a little bit of lemon juice in. Okay.
Great.
So for all you home cooks, when you buy lemons, please, please, please buy organic.
Yes, please.
They're on the Dirty Dozen. The things that are used in citrus to keep them looking like, small squash balls instead of actually citrus. You just don't want that in your system. Always buy organic.
I
Don't
need a little
compromise.
salt, but it's good.
Yeah.
That's great.
A little bit of salt, and then we're good.
I'll get you some salt.
He knows a guy.
You got a guy?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's our food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
So
Christine, these guys. She got a mouthful. We like to put a little bit of fruit on top of this salad. At the restaurant, we use dehydrated pomegranates or raspberries. Currants are wonderful too, so we have some dried currants. Just sprinkle that in, it just gives a little pop, and that's it.
So while we chefs finish up, well, they finished essentially,
We're done.
and we've got samples coming out. We're going to have we're going to open up for some questions and answers. So home oil, that's a barrier for home cooks.
Totally.
What do you do with the extra oil
Totally.
after you make this
So a
delicious
couple
fried
things.
chicken?
You don't need that much oil. You could actually fry chicken in a cast iron pan, maybe a little bit higher side than that.
Holy God, by the way.
Thank you. And if you put the chicken in it, you can flip it and really control your heat in the pan and use a much smaller quantity of oil. But then also, yes, let it cool, strain it out, use it several times. You can use it to make fried chicken again or fry other things. You can just keep it kind of in the back of the stove or in a little special container. You can get many uses if you really do strain well. So, yeah.
A little tip, oil goes rancid. So you want to, if you're going to hold it, like strain it, cool it down, strain it really well through cheesecloth or a coffee filter, and then put it in a container that's not clear, and then put it in a dark place and it'll last a lot longer.
Yeah.
Because if you put it in the sunlight, can you all hear me? If you put it, if you keep it on the counter and has access to sunlight, that'll spoil the oil
And if there's stuff
quickly,
in it.
and there's stuff in it that will also spoil it. So keep it in, like, you notice, like, sometimes if you buy really nice olive oils, they come in a dark bottle. The reason is so the sunlight doesn't expedite that spoilage. So, great.
Yeah, thank you. Other questions?
What was the process like for opening up stands in?
United
Center.
Yeah.
Right.
So the question is, what was the process for opening up stands in the United Center and at Wrigley Field?
So we're really lucky that, I'm a huge Cubs fan. We, last couple years, have been part of the Wrigley Field Chef Series. So we get to go down to Wrigley and open a honey butter fried chicken booth there for a couple weeks every summer. It's an amazing experience. And at the United Center, we have, where the Bulls and the Blackhawks play, we have a permanent booth that's in their concession area that we're really fortunate to have as well. The process of it was that, we're just lucky. They asked us about it. We agreed to do it, and then we had to really work with them because they're operating those booths. So we kind of have a manager that helps oversee the quality. Lots of testing and thinking about our systems to make sure that the quality is really good.
Who is the big guy? Is it Delaware North, or who does the?
It's Levy.
Levy. It's
Yeah.
Levy. Yeah.
So they've been a great partner, and it's just a lot of attention to making sure that our quality is good there.
Well, our sous chef goes every
Yeah, and our sous chef goes.
And I think you're wrong because you said you were lucky. I think your chicken is so damn righteous that's
Thank
why
you.
you ended up there.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Kyle.
Question
Yeah.
here.
Maybe I missed it, but where are you located in Chicago?
The question is, where are they located in Chicago? In Chicago.
We are
Yes.
located in the lovely neighborhood of Avondale, on the corner of Roscoe and Elston. So if you are coming to Chicago from the Madison area, you would take 90 in all the way, get off at Addison, just like you're going to Wrigley Field, and stop on our street before you
Yeah.
head on down to Wrigley.
Yeah.
We're very close to the highway, and I know you're all going to Cubs games all the time, so we won't talk about the last
When
week
they-
of baseball.
Well, speaking of Cubs fans, though, Graham Elliott will be here in a couple of
boy.
Oh, right.
yeah,
he
in a
does
couple
the
of
chef
demos,
series,
and
too.
he's a bananas Cubs fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, which we, again, we can meet in the middle on that, cross the aisle. Thank
Put some
you,
butter
my
on
dear.
that, Kyle.
Oh yeah,
Oh my God, it's really good.
I love that you're still 15
still
years
love
later.
it.
You're like, no, it's really good.
It's really good.
Yeah. How is it, everybody? Yeah.
So Christine, given your musical background, do you ever sing in your kitchen, and can you sing for us?
Oh my God.
Wow. So
Oh
the
my God,
question
I
is,
cannot.
Christine's got a musical
I'll just
background.
leave her alone down there and eat some chicken with you.
Does she ever sing in the kitchen, and will she sing for
I
us?
just started to get like you asked me that question and my heart started racing. I was starting to have anxiety. I will occasionally sing like to myself in the kitchen, and I had like pretty bad stage fright, which is probably one of the reasons why I don't sing in public. I have no problem standing in front of people and talking about food, but
Should try that.
if you meet me outside later, I'll sing for you privately.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that fair? Okay.
How concerned are you about knockoffs?
Question is, how concerned are they? Excuse me, my mouth is full of delicious cornbread.
Well-
How concerned are they about knockoffs?
I mean, you want to take that one,
I mean, I
Josh?
love
Josh
talking
is
about
like
it, but-
ready to go. I'll give you my opinion, and then Josh
Okay,
can
go
answer. I think it happens, and it has happened, and we sort of, very early on sort of protected ourselves legally with trademarks and stuff like that. But listen, we can't trademark actually putting butter on chicken. Like there are no, like in culinary, like we can, I mean, it's just really difficult to like be like, this is our recipe, and you can never do that flavor combination. And we've started to see it, and like major fast food chains like honey butter fried chicken sandwich. We're like, what? But
Yeah.
I think that I'm not concerned about it because there's room for a lot of different things, and we just have to make sure that we are doing it the best and that we hold true to our ingredients and the way that we serve it. I don't think you can divorce our food from our service, and so we just need to be really good at it. I wish people wouldn't do it, but that's just...
It's flattering, right?
It's flattering, right?
It's an interesting thing happening literally in the fried chicken world, because Nashville hot chicken has
Right.
become a major trend in the last about
Right.
2 years. And there's a lovely family, and specifically a woman, I think her name is Dolores, but I'm not sure. Anyway, and not a big
unplugged it.
operation in Nashville that had always been doing this hot chicken. And it
Hattie
caught
B.
on, and the national press, gave it that name, and now there's copycats
Right.
galore. And it's this appropriation, right, of a very straightforward, gorgeous recipe.
Right.
Totally.
But folks just jumping on that train.
We
Yeah.
purposely didn't do
Yeah.
hot chicken.
We have seen lots of honey butter fried chicken popping up. I think Christine's totally correct that, part of the reason why we share our recipes is because, it's one thing to make this for yourself. We totally encourage you to do it. It's another thing to really, a restaurant is not just a recipe. So having the full experience in honey butter is pretty unique. And I don't think even if someone stole everything we had, they'd be able to recreate it exactly. But we have seen, there was a place in Manila in the Philippines that opened that was called HB Chicken. And their pictures looked exactly like our fried chicken. And this woman who goes to the Philippines went to this place and said it was like someone her cousin knew who opened this place, and he had come to honey butter fried chicken and basically went there and tried to copy it. But it's kind of flattering, right?
I mean, when you're raging in Manila.
I know, right?
Yeah. Right.
Oh.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Yes,
Yeah.
in the back.
Plant protein. A
Yeah.
lot of people are thinking maybe we better shift to that, even
Totally.
if we love meat. And chicken, of course, is not the worst in terms of environmental impact. Sure. It's better than the other flesh cuts. But I wonder if you think of that in terms of the trend, like where would you go? Would you think
Yeah.
about fake chicken, laboratory chicken,
Yeah.
cauliflower, portobello mushroom?
So the question is plant protein, and there's a lot of discussion about that and replacing some of the proteins that are essentially detrimental to the environment. There are currently more chickens on the planet than there are people, but its impact as compared to, say, beef is
Minimal.
Yeah,
Right.
not even close.
But
So
still to be considered.
Where would you go with that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we do already offer alternatives to honey butter fried chicken. So we have a non-GMO, locally sourced tofu that is amazing, honestly. We often just eat it instead of the chicken, and it gets the same seasoning on it as our fried chicken, and it fries up really nice and crispy. And you can get that on our sandwiches, and you can get that in baskets, and it's delicious. And the great thing about our flour is that in our seasoning is it does fry a portobello mushroom amazingly well. I'm all for the plant-based burgers and things like that. I think we still lean towards the stuff that is vegetarian but has been being done for millennia. I mean, I think things like tofu or making our own sort of patty mixtures or frying vegetables rather than trying to pretend it's a chicken. come up with something else that's really delicious and has a similar flavor profile. You want to say anything about that, or?
I don't know.
I mean,
to be totally transparent, I mostly, Josh too, I think I mostly eat a plant-based diet. I don't actually eat a ton of meat. I don't really eat a ton of fried chicken. I always tell people, like, it's a sometimes food. We really purposefully made our restaurant menu, like, obviously we have honey butter fried chicken, but everything else around it is very vegetable, produce, like, nutritious, wholesome, healthy, colorful food to balance that out. So that's one of the reasons why it's super important to us to make a kale slaw and serve it alongside of it. So you're eating like a big pile of kale with a piece of fried chicken. So that's sort of how we address it and live our lives. So.
Yes.
So let's say we were driving down to Chicago in the middle of the week and we wanted to miss your lunch rush and your dinner rush. Is there any time in the afternoon?
But it's a really fun experience to stay on the line, I promise you.
The question is there an optimal time to come to honey butter fried chicken?
3 o'clock.
I mean, 3 or 4 in the afternoon is generally, Saturdays it can still be busy and Sundays at that time. But yeah, it's funny, people will show up at 7:30 and be like, the line's too long. I'm like, yeah, come at 4:30. But honestly, even when the line is out the door, we've worked very hard to have it move quickly and try to make it a pleasant, joyful experience. So don't turn away if you see the line. Please.
It's true. It is part of, I don't know, well, it looks like some of the folks in the audience might remember, like, standing in line to get tickets for a concert, right, before you could buy it on the computer that you keep in your hand. But that sort of group experience, which is lost from so much of our lives now, is something that you get at Honey Butter Fried Chicken, that you get at, what's the barbecue place in Austin that everybody gets excited about? Franklin Barbecue.
Used to get at Hot Dogs.
Yeah, it used to be at Hot Dogs. I mean, it's ebullient might be too strong of a word for all the time, but I don't, the times that I've stood in line, no one was there in a bad mood. Like maybe they had a bad day, but they were now in line to have some delicious chicken. Like, this is, they were giving themselves culinary flowers. Like, so it's kind of part of the experience.
Right. And
I personally, even though I could text either of them and say, we're here, and I want to get, can I come around and get some chicken? Maybe, like I wouldn't want to miss on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
We got one over there.
Yes.
So I'm a front of the house instructor here at MPC, and I have to represent the low-income students having actually talked with the leaders and even back the house and interact with someone. It's a tough sell sometimes. So we were talking earlier about wages and tipping. I think that profit sharing, employee profit sharing is important, and I think it could be a potential new wage earner for people. How do you weigh it? What are you?
Okay, so this is that's a long question for me to, but the question is about I think the separation between front of house and back of house, tipping wages, some equalization there, and really how do you navigate that as business owners in the current culinary climate?
I think it's a struggle, but it's not something that we're afraid of. We really, from the beginning, we've really tried to bring the front of the house and back of the house together. I have also been a server and been afraid to talk to the cooks. We try to get the front of house people in the kitchen helping with prep and stuff, and because they're not reliant on tips, they're actually often happy to do that. Our kitchen kind of leads right into the dining room, so our cooks and our front of the house staff have a lot of interaction, and they have to communicate a lot because they're always talking about how long the line is and what things that are happening in the front, so that the cooks can be aware. And I think Christine and I kind of try to lead the charge on that. We're both in the front and in the back, and try to demystify sort of the fear of the mean kitchen people. The other thing is we don't hire mean kitchen people, so they don't exist at our restaurant really, and if they do, they tend to go quickly. But we treat each other as customers too. That's something we teach our staff from day one. So there generally isn't that sort of strong divide, and I think not having the tips makes a huge difference, because a lot of cooks, maybe rightly so sometimes, especially in big cities, can see a server walk out with $300-400 at the high-end restaurants in Chicago, and the cook
Or more.
who
Or more.
Yeah.
18-hour day walked out with 120 or something. Something just the inequity of it is dramatic. So in our restaurant, that just doesn't exist. They're all being paid basically the same, and I think that helps them kind of stay on the same team.
Yeah. I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So you have this wonderful culture that you've talked about, and I believe it. I don't know any of the folks that work for you, but I would probably guess that everything's true. The culinary world is very demanding. The hours are very tough. Time away. You're working when everybody else is playing, basically, to make a broad statement. And the need to unwind at the end is often a very, very strong drive. Chemical dependency is the leitmotif that runs through this culture, going all the way back to Carême. So how does your culture help to abate that? Or is it just you can never win? Or like, talk about that a little bit. Because I think it's something, especially for culinary students, moving into that world that is not mentioned enough, but is a big, big, big part of the culture.
It's a huge part of the culture, and it's been a struggle for our whole careers. And I think that I think it starts with me and Josh. I mean, we really do try to set a positive example, and you know, we don't have like a drinking culture in our restaurant. Not to say that people in our restaurant that work for us aren't going out and drinking regularly, but we don't do it in our restaurant. So I think that helps, and us providing benefits, health benefits, so people can get physical care, mental health care. We are not afraid to talk about that kind of stuff. Like, I think being transparent, like we tell ourselves, like I go to therapy, Josh goes to therapy, we actively talk about it in front of our staff like it's not a big deal.
I do Pilates.
Josh goes to I do yoga, Josh Pilates, and I go to acupuncture, and we talk about that stuff like it's super important. It's super disturbing how much chemical dependency there is, and we really do try to encourage people to find another way to do it. But it's a huge struggle, and I think it starts with the employers putting some boundaries in place about what's allowed in your restaurant, what's not. Like, our staff members don't stay after and just get like limitless amounts of drinks, and we don't do that. And so we're just trying to set a positive example of being supportive and non-judgmental when it does come up, and not being afraid to have a conversation with them about it.
Cool. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Any other questions? Didn't mean to bring it down. I just did something that was deeply.
It's important.
It is important, and it's a discussion that doesn't happen often enough. So I knew that you two would have something to say. Yes, sir.
Do you have vegan options at your restaurant?
The question: Are there vegan options?
We
at,
do.
Honey Butter?
So there's a couple things. First of all, this slaw is vegan. We can do we have like a barbecue fried tofu sandwich that we can do. Like our mayonnaises have eggs in them, although we have actually looked at options to change that. So that could potentially come someday. But we can do a barbecue tofu sandwich. And our tofu itself is vegan, but then the question is which sauce, and our sauce would be our barbecue sauce. So, yeah.
Yes, sir.
As established owners and chefs who are necessarily developing a business now, what is a typical day for you?
So the question is, now that you're established, 15 years young, overnight success.
Yeah, right.
What's a typical day?
I mean, it varies dramatically day to day. If we have a dinner club day, that it means a dinner that would start at 7:30 at night. I'm up very early. I have a baby, 1-year-old, so I'm up early with him. We generally aren't in the restaurant until 9 or 10. 9 on Fridays, we have our weekly huddle with the staff where we go through all the financial information. My schedule is usually 10 to 5 or 6, doing lots of like a meeting with Christine to talk about whatever topics we have, meeting with our operations manager, meeting with our cooks, then helping our sous chef prep at Sunday Dinner Club. I try to get into the kitchen when I can, because I love it, but it's also sometimes challenging. But there's a million decisions. It's funny, I left teaching in the Bronx, which was a very stressful job, and this is not at all the same sort of magnitude of importance, but I feel like we are pulled in a lot of directions. We deal with HR stuff, how to fund the business. I'm talking to investors while also talking to real estate people and negotiating terms on things and dealing with all these companies, delivery companies and garbage companies. So there's just a lot of things to handle. Yeah, go for it.
Let me tell you what we did today,
Okay.
so you can get an idea of it, a real life example. So we each got up in the morning and took care of our various children/animals. So that's important. And then Josh picked me up and we had a phone interview with somebody from Chicago Magazine about the restaurant business. And then we had another meeting on the phone in the car on the way to Madison to do the demo with our operations manager and our culinary manager about the future of our company and our next location, and also our delivery contracts and our staffing issues. And then we had another meeting with our general manager, our head kitchen manager, to talk about back of house and front of house specific issues to honey butter fried chicken. Then he and I chatted a little bit about higher level, like what are we going to do next kind of stuff. Should we get investors? Should we like really high level stuff? And then we're like, where should we eat lunch? And then we checked into our hotel. That's a real serious question.
Yeah.
We checked in our hotel. We got on Slack, answered all of our employees' questions, checked our emails, checked in with our my animal and his wife. Then we came here, did a tour, had some lunch, did some more. I proofread and edited a Sunday Dinner Club invite. That's getting sent out tomorrow. Answered some more questions. Met up with Kyle, did an interview for Vollrath. Then we had dinner, and then we did this. And that's just a day. And it's like, I also did a social media post for Honey Butter because I do our social media. We had lunch here, actually.
Yeah, we had lunch here at MTC.
We ran out of
didn't
time.
get here in time, unfortunately.
We ran out of time.
We love to eat in Madison. I love my wife and I and my baby come here often just to get away. So
I actually was here this past weekend. I was here Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and for visiting friends. And I went to Mint Mark, and I love that restaurant with my whole heart.
Yeah.
But
Please go visit and support Sean. He's an amazing chef.
Chicago guy.
Chicago chef from Madison.
Yep.
Moved back up here with his family, and his restaurant I could not highly endorse it enough.
Yeah.
So.
Can we ask this crowd what the best pizza in Madison is, though? Because that's really...
Pizza what? Pizza Bruto?
Salvatore.
I was going to say, Salvatore's is, yeah.
Not Greenbush?
No.
You know where I went to eat on Saturday night? I went to Grandpa's. It was great.
Grandpa's is legit.
I loved Grandpa's.
Yeah.
There you go, Josh. There you go.
Thank you.
I don't think I have a working mic, but any other questions? There we go. Any other questions?
Put the butter on the bird.
And scene.
Well, maybe this is a good cue after hearing about Josh and Christine's day. It's 10 after 8. Let's just let these chefs have an early night.